At this moment, under the scorching sun in the palace training ground, a eunuch was kneeling pathetically on the ground, bound by hands and feet, trembling helplessly and sweating in fear. The eunuch frowned tightly, staring fearfully into the distance. Nearby eunuchs whispered among themselves, wondering why such a noble person would come to a place like this. That person was the current crown prince Fanchensy. His movements were swift and graceful as he took an arrow from the quiver and drew his bow, aiming at the little eunuch. As his 2 fingers released, the arrow shot like a cheetah, violently striking the little eunuch's shoulder. Blood splattered instantly, but with his mouth gagged, he could only let out painful whimpers. Fanchensy rubbed his forehead at the sight and lamented that his aim was getting worse. A nearby minister flattered him, saying skills naturally get rusty without practice, but will improve with more practice. The little eunuchs standing guard beside him whispered that the prince's unpredictable temper was unbearable. Someone nearby warned them to keep their voices down. The crown prince wasn't like this before, but since his leg injury, rumors spread throughout the palace that His Majesty wanted to depose the crown prince, and his personality changed drastically since then. That gentle and refined crown prince was long gone, replaced by someone with an unstable temper and tyrannical nature. He became increasingly arbitrary and willful. Qiu Xiaobei, who stood listening to everything, felt heartbroken. It was all because of him that the prince suffered so much. He must save him. So he disguised himself among the eunuchs, but unexpectedly, Fanchensy noticed him among the many eunuchs. He casually lifted Xiaobei's chin with his sword ruler. As if discovering something interesting, he couldn't help but intimidate him, his gaze fierce and gloomy. "Do you know why I had that servant tied up there?" Qiu Xiaobei trembled uncontrollably at his demeanor, tightening his curse in fear. He quickly showed weakness, stuttering, "This servant doesn't know," Fanchensy said gloomily, "because he's a spy. Why don't you tell me? Should I give him a chance to identify his accomplices?" Hearing these words, even the naive Qiu Xiaobei realized his identity must have been discovered. He frowned, his expression serious. "It's all up to your highness." Fanchensy was pleased with his obedience and asked him to help question the spy. Qiu Xiaobei approached the spy, seeing him about to speak. From his high position, Fanchensy smiled slightly, seeing his unsuspecting manner, and casually took out an arrow, shooting it straight at Qiu Xiaobei. He keenly felt a burst of force coming straight at his face. Sensing something, he turned his head to see an arrow. In panic, he hurriedly dodged. The arrow grazed past Qiu Xiaobei's back and precisely hit the target behind him. But unexpectedly, he suddenly collapsed, having fainted from fright. Fanchensy hadn't expected this accident, wondering how someone could be so easily frightened. He ordered the nearby imperial physician to check the situation. The physician hurriedly went forward, bent down to carefully check Xiaobei's pulse. After a while, his eyes suddenly widened in disbelief. He anxiously went to the crown prince's side and whispered in his ear. After hearing these incredible words, Fanchensy merely showed curious puzzlement. Gently stroking his chin, he spoke with interest. "A eunuch who can get pregnant, how interesting. A person's life is filled with countless fortunes and misfortunes, but Qiu Xiaobei's seemed to consist only of misfortunes. People spoke ill of him, calling him a jinx and harbinger of disaster. But one day, he was fortunate enough to meet that life who controlled fate. He remembered that night, under the bright moon and sparse stars. He smiled gently at him. Qiu Xiaobei asked confusedly, "Which star up there are you? Where are you hiding?" Fanchensy just patted his head. "I'm right here. Why hide?" Hearing these words, Qiu Xiaobei couldn't help but nestle in his arms and act coy. "Then I've caught you. You can't go anywhere. You can only stay by my side." But what he didn't expect was that this would be the beginning of the deity's misfortune. Because of his fate's good and ill fortune, Fanchensy, to save him, gave his own good fortune to him. Now only Xiaoqin's rebellious dark contract remains. Qiu Xiaobei helplessly shouted, "What must I do to save him?" Someone heard his plea and spoke. "I will send his soul to deliver it. Only when he reaches the peak of that world and gains its fortune's blessing can his soul's wounds be healed. Only then can he return. Though now just an infant, you will meet again eventually. Xiaobei, you must help him in that world. Help him reach the top." The girl lay in a silent lake, sinking deeper and deeper to the bottom. Suddenly she opened her eyes, urgently asking, "How can I find him?" The voice gradually faded. "You will surely find him. After all, you have half his soul within you." Qiu Xiaobei suddenly sat up. A man stood with his back turned nearby, his figure strongly resembling Fan Chenxi. Qiu Xiaobei called out in confusion, but the man didn't respond. She hurriedly stood up and ran toward him, desperately reaching out to grab him, watching him grow more distant. She suddenly sat up in bed, calling out in fear, not yet fully awake from the dream. She sat dazed on the bed. The crown prince nearby saw she was awake. Qiu Xiaobei was frightened, covered in cold sweat, breathing heavily. Hearing a voice nearby, she turned her head confused. Fan Chenxi was sitting in the room. She immediately reacted, hurriedly getting off the bed, kneeling and kowtowing to the crown prince, continuously begging for mercy. "This servant deserves death. Please forgive me, Your Highness." Fan Chenxi was quite puzzled. "You servants are interesting. You say you deserve death, yet ask me for forgiveness. If you truly think you deserve death, why not just die?" Hearing this, Qiu Xiaobei became more terrified, stuttering that this servant could atone for the crime. Fan Chenxi approached with interest, slowly lowering his head to stare at her. "How will you atone? With that flesh in your belly?" Hearing this, Qiu Xiaobei showed terror, frozen in place. She hadn't yet understood the meaning, just fearfully backing away, asking anxiously, "Do you want to cut flesh from my stomach? This servant is so thin, there's hardly any flesh." Nearby, Imperial Physician Lin stepped forward and bowed. "This official is absolutely certain. This young eunuch is nearly 1 month pregnant." Qiu Xiaobei couldn't believe it, showing panic and distress, thinking how could she be pregnant? It was only once. How could it be so certain? She nervously broke into another cold sweat, tightly covering her abdomen. This was terrible. Would a pregnant eunuch be executed as a monster? Seeing her frightened state, Fan Chenxi surprisingly offered comfort. "Don't worry, this is good news. It's rare to have such a joyous event in the Eastern Palace." He crossed his arms, looking around the room. "It can help dispel the gloom in this room." Qiu Xiaobei dared not speak, watching him turn his wheelchair to leave. Before leaving, he surprisingly said, "I'm promoting you to internal attendant to serve at my side. From today, Imperial Physician Lin will handle all matters of your pregnancy. You just focus on taking care of the child." Then he suddenly turned back, staring ominously at Qiu Xiaobei. "I'm hoping you will give our Eastern Palace a healthy baby boy." Qiu Xiaobei crouched tearfully in place, completely dazed. This was terrible. What should she do now? The head eunuch couldn't help but worry, feeling something was amiss. But Imperial Physician Lin was relaxed. Would His Highness really be curious about a man giving birth? The world is full of wonders. His Highness faces dangers from all sides now. Any movement must be taken seriously. This little eunuch may act foolish, but is actually quite clever. Fan Chenxi silently listened to their words, couldn't help but chuckle, leisurely resting his chin on his hand, only saying, "I have my own plans." He gently tapped his chair. The head eunuch understood. This person was an imposter, replacing one of the lowest-ranking eunuchs from the Night Seclusion Palace. Several days later in the Crown Prince's palace, Fan Chenxi was seriously reading the memorials on his desk. He suddenly called out Xiaobei and asked her to sit beside him. Qiu Xiaobei hesitated. She thought this wasn't appropriate, but unexpectedly, Fan Chenxi's mood suddenly turned dark as he glared at her. "So now even a eunuch won't listen to my orders?" Surprised by his unstable temper, Qiu Xiaobei quickly sat down beside him. Fan Chenxi casually tossed a memorial her way. "This is written messily. Why don't you read it for me?" Qiu Xiaobei became flustered. She had only completed 9 years of compulsory education. She didn't understand any of this. Fan Chenxi heard this and turned his head, puzzled. Qiu Xiaobei quickly made excuses, saying it must be folk learning. In her heart, she thought, "Well, I learned Chinese, math, English, geography, biology, everything." Fan Chenxi found this interesting, resting his chin on his hand while watching her. "Then read it for me. Let me see how well you've learned these folk studies." She nervously swallowed and opened the memorial. It was all written in classical Chinese. She couldn't understand it at all, so she begged the crown prince to spare her. Hearing this, Fan Chenxi wouldn't let her off. Instead, he closed his eyes, resting his chin, and casually said to read whatever characters she recognized. Seeing no escape, Qiu Xiaobei could only dejectedly agree. She started reading stutteringly, thinking painfully to herself how strange this scene was. Outside the hall, the head eunuch suddenly entered with a bow, his voice full of panic. "Your Highness, something terrible has happened. Consort Zhou is dead. The Emperor summons you now." Fan Shenxi arrived at the Great Hall. A woman was crying pitifully to the Emperor. "Shinner, she was so young, hadn't even had children yet. How could she die? You must seek justice for her." The woman's crying was pitiful. The Emperor held her tightly, turned his head with disgust, and glared hatefully at those below. "Crown Prince, do you admit your guilt?" Fan Shenxi lowered his head and calmly said, "I don't know." The Emperor became more angry. "You dare say you don't know? Your own consort dies in the palace, and you have the audacity to tell me you don't know?" He didn't back down, raising his head to look at the Emperor. "So father's meaning is, someone came to my palace to kill my wife, and somehow this becomes my fault?" The Emperor was furious, gritting his teeth and cursing, "You rebellious son." The atmosphere became tense. The woman dared not cry anymore, weakly saying, "Your Majesty, please calm down." The Emperor then pointed at Fan Shenxi. "The Crown Prince bears inescapable responsibility for this. He's no longer fit to be Crown Prince. Right now, I command." But before he could finish, he was suddenly interrupted. Qiu Xiaobei rushed into the hall, dropping to her knees and begging for mercy. "The Crown Prince is innocent in this matter. This is the Eastern Palace. It's within the Imperial Palace itself. If you say the Crown Prince bears responsibility, then what about your Majesty?" In other words, someone dared to murder a consort in the Crown Prince's Eastern Palace. Then she suddenly raised her head, expression very serious, frowning, boldly shouting at the Emperor, "This is a direct challenge to your Majesty's authority." Hearing this, the Emperor was instantly enraged, shouting at Qiu Xiaobei, "Insolent! Where did this servant come from? Who are you to speak here? Someone take him away. Take this damned dog of a servant away and remove his head." Several guards immediately rushed into the hall. They grabbed Qiu Xiaobei and started dragging her out. At this moment, Fan Shenxi spoke up, "You cannot do this. He cannot die yet." The guards immediately stopped. The Emperor hadn't expected him to still dare defy him. He glared fiercely at him, but Fan Shenxi showed no fear. Instead, he slowly and firmly said, "As far as I know, Consort Zhou summoned him before her death. Therefore, I believe he has a significant connection to Zhou's death." But the Emperor stared maliciously at Qiu Xiaobei. "So what does the Crown Prince suggest? Should we let him go?" Fan Shenxi objected. "Of course we can't let him go. If we're investigating, naturally we should hand him over to the internal court." When Qiu Xiaobei heard these three words, cold sweat kept dripping down his face. The Emperor was quite surprised, showing a rare hint of happiness. "You're quite willing to sacrifice him?" Fan Shenxi lowered his head in silence. The Emperor then stood up, satisfied. He left the hall with his consort, not forgetting to order that this servant be handed over to the internal court. "Make sure to investigate the death of the Crown Prince's consort thoroughly. The Crown Prince won't escape responsibility either." Then he turned his head with a vicious expression, frowning with disgust at Fan Shenxi. "From today, the Eastern Palace is confined for 3 months. The Crown Prince is forbidden from participating in state affairs." Fan Shenxi didn't seem to care. After the Emperor left, he even had the leisure to stare at Qiu Xiaobei, stroking his chin, smiling as if plotting something. Soon, Qiu Xiaobei was imprisoned in the internal court. He couldn't help thinking that just 3 months of confinement wasn't much of a loss for him. This game wasn't lost too badly. While he was deep in thought, heavy footsteps suddenly came from outside the prison. Qiu Xiaobei turned around to find an old man standing there. He beckoned him to come over and held out a bowl of rice. Qiu Xiaobei quickly reached to take it, but the old man wouldn't let go, gripping the bowl tightly. He looked up confused, but unexpectedly, the old man lowered his head and whispered, "What are you trying to do? How does this benefit you?" Looking at the person before him, Qiu Xiaobei suddenly remembered when he first arrived here. He had found a young eunuch who had hanged himself in the night palace. He had then disguised himself and taken over that identity to infiltrate the Eastern Palace. But Qiu Xiaobei later realized something completely unexpected. Looking at the letters in his hand, he discovered that this person had committed suicide because he feared being sent to the Eastern Palace as a spy. But the clues didn't reveal who had sent him. Realizing this, Qiu Xiaobei's eyes widened. Could this be their person? Such bad luck, he could only play along. He turned his head slightly and said meaningfully, "I have my own intentions." The old man looked at him suspiciously. "Is your intention to come to this hellhole to die?" He coughed lightly with a clenched fist and said seriously, "I took this blow for the Crown Prince. No matter how cold-hearted he is, he must see my loyalty now." The old man seemed to understand. Qiu Xiaobei stepped forward confidently. Now it depends on whether you have the ability to rescue me from here and return me to the crown prince's side. That night in the Eastern Palace, the head eunuch quietly advised, Your Highness, the night is cold. It's better not to stay outside long. Fan Shenxi watched the carp in the pond and responded. But the head eunuch couldn't help wondering, regarding Xiaobei. We've done as you ordered. You clearly know he's an actor. Investigating showed he helped you just to earn your favor. Why did you still help him? Wouldn't it be better to leave him in the internal court? Fan Shenxi slowly scattered fish food. His eyes were deep as he said ambiguously, Keeping him alive has its uses. The head eunuch said no more, as he only followed his master's orders. But he couldn't help worrying. Can this young servant withstand the internal court's torture? According to my latest information, they've already started. Fan Shenxi casually rested his chin on his hand and spoke carelessly. If he can't endure this tribulation, then he's not worth my attention. At this time in the internal court, Minister Zhang sat imposingly at his desk. Behind him stood a soldier holding a whip, ready to interrogate the prisoner. Minister Zhang seemed quite leisurely as he picked up the teacup on his desk. Without even looking at the person below, he asked, Now that you're here, do you know the rules of the internal court? Qiu Xiaobei was tied to the rack. Hearing these words, he kept his head down in silence, not taking the bait. Seeing him so uncooperative, Minister Zhang turned his head with a dark expression and ordered the soldier beside him, Since that's the case, go teach him a lesson. Hearing the order, the soldier smiled darkly and viciously stretched the whip in his hands. Then he quickly stepped forward and lashed out, striking Qiu Xiaobei's body. He groaned in pain and turned his head, thinking anxiously that he couldn't fall here. He still needed to help Qinci reach the top. Just then, he suddenly saw a ghostly figure appear in the distance. Qiu Xiaobei couldn't help muttering, Why am I seeing these things again? Then he heard the woman's whisper. He guessed the person's identity. At least now he had a plan. It seemed this genetic constitution had some benefits after all. He then spoke eerily, Minister Zhang, your first wife passed away many years ago. Then he suddenly raised his head and angrily questioned Zhang, Have you ever thought about her? Hearing this, Zhang frowned deeply, looking confused. But Qiu Xiaobei continued, That butterfly hairpin your wife wore was really beautiful. It's just a pity that one corner was broken. Why didn't you have it fixed? Minister Zhang finally reacted, his face showing shock as his expression quickly darkened. He stood there frozen, mouth agape. He asked tremblingly, How do you know these things? Qiu Xiaobei suddenly smiled sinisterly. Your wife told me herself. Minister Zhang finally couldn't take it anymore. He fearfully shouted, Shut up, and knocked over the entire table in fright. But Qiu Xiaobei wouldn't let him off. Who are you telling to shut up? A vengeful spirit attached behind him, crying out in agony. Zhang Chengli married his superior's daughter for his career. He killed me and our son. Now I want you to pay with your life. After hearing this, Zhang Chengli collapsed to the ground. His face turned pale, and his whole body trembled uncontrollably. Seeing him so frightened, Qiu Xiaobei smiled and said, Perhaps we can have a proper talk now. Zhang Chengli tremblingly ordered the soldiers to release him. By now, candles had been lit in the Eastern Palace. Fan Shenxi was seriously reading documents. After a while, hurried footsteps suddenly came from outside. A commander came to report the situation. The consort had a secret lover. We don't know who this person is yet, but we can be certain that this lover must hold a high position in the palace. The lover must be the one who killed the consort, which explains why there were no signs of struggle at the scene. Fan Shenxi lightly tapped the desk. He ordered the commander, If that's the case, spread all the information you found secretly. The commander was confused, not understanding why this should be done. Fan Shenxi said no more, just telling him to do as ordered. In his mind, he thought, killing Consort Zhou was just to create conflict between me and noble Consort Zhou, wasn't it? Since the show has begun, let's make it bigger. After giving these orders, he couldn't help but ask the nearby eunuch, How is that person in the internal court? Hearing this, the head eunuch quickly raised his head and reported with some anxiety, They say his screams were quite terrible. Hearing this, the commander became curious. He leaned forward and asked, Are you talking about that young eunuch who stood up for your highness and was imprisoned in the internal court? Fan Shenxi gave him a warning look and asked coldly, What did you find? The commander quickly responded respectfully, Zhou Sifei called Bei Bei over at that time, because he wanted him to do something. He wanted Bei to die in his place. Hearing this, Fan Shenxi's face instantly darkened, and his fingers crushed the armrest. Meanwhile, in the internal court, Qiu Xiaobei was completely at ease, sitting like a lord in his chair, with people fanning him and massaging his back on either side. He kept speaking while Zhang Chengli, seeing his good mood, tentatively asked if he could help him. He begged Xiaobei to tell him that one must pay for their own sins. Some people, though dead, should still be given their rightful status. A first wife is still a first wife. Repair her tomb, bring her tablet back to the ancestral shrine, burn the hairpin for her. Better yet, return what you stole from the dead. Then he stretched lazily and started dismissing people. Don't disturb my rest. Soon after, Qiu Xiaobei returned to his cell. He heard someone chuckling. It's been a long time since I've seen something this interesting. He turned around alertly and coldly demanded to know who it was. The man, seemingly able to see him, called out playfully, "Girl, where are you looking?" "I'm right here. I'm over here." Qiu Xiaobei began searching and quickly noticed a fist-sized hole in the wall nearby. It must be from the adjacent cell. But why did this person call him girl? This was troublesome. How did he figure out his identity? So Qiu Xiaobei peered into the hole and saw a red-haired man sitting there. After a while, they sat back to back, talking through the wall. "I heard you're from the Eastern Palace. Fan Shenxi hasn't been deposed as crown prince yet." Qiu Xiaobei didn't want to engage with him, but this person mentioned Shenxi. The red-haired man slowly continued, "It's quite a shame about the crown prince's situation. He's the Empress Yuan's son, a legitimate heir. But his mother died, his father doesn't love him, and he's disabled. Those with disabilities cannot inherit the throne. But he has the support of many ministers. Deposing him could easily spark court sympathy. So the emperor keeps him as crown prince, but prevents him from succeeding. He occupies a position that's not truly his. Over time, the sympathy will turn to resentment." He clicked his tongue. The emperor is quite clever, using even his own son like this. But his downfall is just bad luck. Otherwise, in terms of ruthlessness, even his father couldn't match him. Didn't he send you to this internal court prison? With your constitution, you'll suffer greatly here. He really can be heartless. Qiu Xiaobei couldn't listen anymore and angrily shouted, "Shut up!" The red-haired man was stunned. Qiu Xiaobei threatened in a low voice, "Make another sound and I'll cut out your tongue." In his heart, he thought, his bad luck? How could I not know about his bad luck? Qiu Xiaobei's eyes grew determined. No matter the outcome, I will help him regain his lost fortune. Just then, a eunuch came to the cell, opened the door, and respectfully said, "You can leave today. Masterly from the Eastern Palace is waiting outside." The red-haired man was surprised he was leaving so soon and turned to say quietly, "Your loyalty to him wasn't wasted if he's getting you out already." Looking through the crack, he seriously promised Qiu Xiaobei, "If you need anything outside, remember to come back and find me. My terms are very reasonable." Qiu Xiaobei quickly left the cell and arrived at the Eastern Palace. Upon entering, he saw Fan Shenxi sitting at the table, tending to some flowers and plants. "You're back? The imperial kitchen has prepared meals." He turned to look at the person before him, who was radiant and completely unharmed. He swallowed the rest of his words. Quickly turning back, he said, "Just eat less, save some food." Hearing this, Qiu Xiaobei reached out pitifully, trying to change his mind. Fan Shenxi asked softly, "How are you? Is your stomach all right?" Seeing this, Qiu Xiaobei eagerly moved closer. "Your servant is fine, just needs some nourishment." He finally relented. "I'll have someone get you food from the kitchen." Then he leaned close to Qiu Xiaobei and whispered, "Just give me a healthy, chubby son." Afterward, Fan Shenxi quickly backed away, lowering his head to hide his expression, and changed the subject. "This time I owe you a favor. Think about what reward you want." Qiu Xiaobei couldn't help getting excited, but still asked tentatively, "Can your servant ask for anything?" Fan Shenxi didn't object, but asked him to elaborate. So he immediately knelt down, then suddenly raised his head, looking straight at him. "Your servant wishes to request permission to treat your illness." Fan Shenxi's face instantly darkened as he smashed his teacup on the ground. He glared at Qiu Xiaobei with a grim expression. Who would have thought this little eunuch would be so bold? Fan Shenxi frowned and approached him darkly. He was suspicious. "I didn't know you understood medicine." Qiu Xiaobei stammered, "Your servant only knows a little. Perhaps I can help your highness." Hearing this, Fan Shenxi smiled pleasantly for a moment before his expression suddenly changed. He reached out and firmly gripped Qiu Xiaobei's throat. He immediately couldn't breathe and coughed painfully, his face turning pale. but Fan Shinsi paid no attention, glaring at him darkly and coldly demanding, "What do you take me for?" Qiu Xiaobei persisted in begging for His Highness's permission. Fan Shinsi thought irritably that those pleading, tearful eyes were truly annoying. Just a little more pressure. He could easily strangle him to death, but he finally released his grip, watching Qiu Xiaobei cough repeatedly. "It's just a physical examination. I allow it." The head eunuch became instantly nervous upon hearing this, worrying internally. How could His Highness's body be examined by a mere little eunuch? What if he had ill intentions? Fan Shinsi warned him condescendingly, "But you should know, even among the imperial physicians, only Dr. Lin has the privilege to treat me. To earn this privilege, you must pay a certain price." Qiu Xiaobei bowed respectfully. "Your servant is willing to pay any price." Seeing his determination, Fan Shinsi began to ponder what he could be after. If he was trying to get close to harm him, to make an attempt on his life, but he was already an internal servant with plenty of opportunities to serve. Why take this risk? So he concluded, "The price is this. Within 5 days, I must see results from your treatment. Otherwise, face the consequences. You can still back out now." But Qiu Xiaobei knocked his head on the ground firmly. "Your servant will do everything possible." Fan Shinsi was infuriated. Everything possible indeed, truly ignorant of death. He impatiently turned away, dismissing him. "Then get out. I don't want to see you now." Late that night, Qiu Xiaobei suddenly sat up in bed, awakened by a nightmare. He had almost forgotten something, the main culprit who had sent him to the internal court prison. He couldn't sit still either. So he got up, dressed, and went to Consort Zhou's chambers. Just as he hid in the bushes, someone discovered him. "What are you sneaking around here for?" Qiu Xiaobei was startled and turned around quickly, finding it was Fan Shinsi. He asked what mischief he was up to. Qiu Xiaobei hurriedly made excuses. "Your Highness said you didn't want to see me, so your servant had to hide." He couldn't help but think how his anger from the afternoon had already passed. Such mercurial moods. Sure enough, Fan Shinsi's face darkened the next moment. Something had upset him again. "Then never appear before me again." The guards pushed him away quickly. Qiu Xiaobei was stunned, then hurriedly tried to curry favor, circling around him coaxingly. "Please have mercy on your servant. I can't eat or sleep if I don't see you for a day." Fan Shinsi tacitly allowed it. He followed along. Inside the chamber, the guards had seized a palace maid who was found on the consort's bed. The palace maid kept begging for mercy, but when she raised her head, Qiu Xiaobei recognized her identity. It was Xiaotsue, the consort's personal maid. Fan Shinsi waved his hand, ordering Xiaotsue to be taken away. He then asked Qiu Xiaobei what he thought had happened here. He stammered, hesitant to speak. Fan Shinsi didn't believe his reluctance. "What's so hard about telling such nonsense?" Qiu Xiaobei stroked his chin thoughtfully. "Your servant senses a lingering spirit here." The guards couldn't help but laugh at his words. Fan Shinsi clearly didn't believe it either. "Is this what your 9 years of compulsory education taught you? All this supernatural nonsense?" Qiu Xiaobei was helpless. He was telling the truth, but no one believed him. Fan Shinsi led everyone out of the chamber. "Since you say that, then please, Xiaobei, stay here and catch that spirit for me." Qiu Xiaobei hadn't expected this turn of events and frantically tried to hold him back, but it was too late. Fan Shinsi had the doors closed. After leaving, he instructed the guards to watch over him carefully. "I won't allow anything to happen to him or the child in his belly." Qiu Xiaobei was left alone in the chamber. The room was empty and so cold it made him shiver. He thought he couldn't stay like this. He needed to find clues quickly. He had to leave this haunted place. After just a few steps, he noticed something strange about the cup on the table. He recalled what happened that day. When Consort Zhou met him that day, the water was poured just like this. But this cup was in exactly the same position as that day, as if it hadn't been touched. It was very suspicious. Just as he picked up the cup to examine it closely, a pair of hands suddenly reached out from under the table and firmly grabbed his ankles. Qiu Xiaobei was startled, but kept telling himself to stay calm. With this cursed constitution, what situation hadn't he encountered yet? But when he prepared himself mentally and looked down, there was no one there. A silk scarf was tied to his foot. Qiu Xiaobei suddenly understood. Someone was asking for his help. So he returned to the crown prince's palace and handed it to Fan Shinsi. "This is maid Xiaotsue's handkerchief. The day she delivered a message to the consort, your servant saw her wearing this handkerchief." He continued, "This handkerchief is laced with a drug that can cause dizziness and temporary blindness. So your servant suspect Xiaotsue was the one who administered the drug." Fan Shenxi casually handed the item to Dr. Lin. I'm more concerned about how my people, the noble consort's people, and even the internal court prison, searched countless times but found nothing. Yet you managed to find this handkerchief? Qiu Xiaobei panicked slightly and could only say he just happened to find it, as it couldn't be explained logically. Dr. Lin carefully examined the handkerchief. This drug is rare. Ordinary doctors might not recognize it. Lord Bei, how did you know about it? Qiu Xiaobei nervously replied, your servant learned from father before entering the palace. I have some basic knowledge. Hearing this, Fan Shenxi laughed. I see. Fan Shenxi asked Dr. Lin beside him, what do you think about him treating me? Dr. Lin respectfully bowed. As they say, many minds are better than one. It might have unexpected benefits. Having one more person to look after your highness isn't bad. Hearing this, Fan Shenxi finally extended his hand, gesturing with his eyes for Qiu Xiaobei to begin. Qiu Xiaobei carefully approached and took his pulse. His expression quickly darkened. This was clearly poisoning, not something recent from the past year or two. The poison in his body was a chronic toxin accumulated over years. The injury to his legs and its accompanying poison merely triggered what was already present in his body. His expression grew increasingly troubled as he bit his lip hard, thinking sadly how this could happen. He thought he could make it in time, but was he too late? Very perceptive, Fan Shenxi quickly noticed Qiu Xiaobei's unusual emotions. He smiled and asked, what's wrong? Am I terminally ill? But he took such poor care of his health. Qiu Xiaobei couldn't help glaring at him. Please don't say such things. Your servant will save you. You will live a long life. Seeing him like this, Fan Shenxi fell unusually silent. What was this person's purpose? Why did he care so much about him? Qiu Xiaobei turned to leave to get the prescription. Dr. Lin followed. Fan Shenxi lightly tapped the table, and a secret guard jumped down from the ceiling beam. He asked about the investigation into the child. The guard immediately apologized. We couldn't find any men who had contact with Lord Bei. Apart from his few attempts to approach your chambers, there were no abnormalities. Fan Shenxi hadn't expected his background to be untraceable. He ordered the guard to receive 20 lashes, but couldn't help thinking about his earlier expression. What secrets are you hiding? Can I really trust you? Fan Shenxi hadn't noticed he was becoming increasingly concerned. Qiu Xiaobei had already fallen deep into it. Fan Shenxi heard movement behind him. Without turning, he knew who it was. Didn't I tell you to write the prescription and rest? Why are you here? Qiu Xiaobei eagerly approached, speaking flatteringly, your servant isn't tired. Let me keep watch tonight. But Fan Shenxi refused. I don't need you here. Dr. Lin says pregnant women need rest and shouldn't stay up late. Though you're not exactly a pregnant woman, the same should apply. But Qiu Xiaobei wouldn't give up, still trying to persist. She patted her biceps. Your servant is very healthy. My hands are fine too. Then she continued to persist shamelessly. Please let your servant stay. Just give me a tiny space outside where I can curl up. Fan Shenxi's hand paused. Surprised by his eagerness to stay, he grabbed Qiu Xiaobei's chin and pulled him close. You can stay, but first you must tell me honestly. Fan Shenxi stared at him with deep eyes, as if trying to see through him. What are you afraid of? Qiu Xiaobei broke into a cold sweat, not expecting this question. He casually turned his head aside, breaking free from his grip, and stammered, You're so mighty. I feel safer by your side. Seeing he still wouldn't tell the truth, Fan Shenxi decisively turned his wheelchair and shouted for someone to throw him out. Qiu Xiaobei frantically reached out to stop him. He fearfully rushed forward, crouching beside him. Actually, your servant is afraid of the dark. I just came from the palace chambers. When the consort was alive, we had a small conflict. Fan Shenxi seemed confused by this. Qiu Xiaobei, thinking he was displeased, quickly held up 2 fingers carefully, just a tiny bit. He continued flattering, Your servant is truly afraid. Your highness is the true dragon's son. Evil spirits dare not approach. Your chambers are safest. Let me guard you. Hearing this, Fan Shenxi was at a loss with him. He sighed helplessly, Guard if you want to. Have someone set up a couch in the chamber. However, Fan Shenxi warned him, True dragon's son, don't say such things again. Qiu Xiaobei quickly nodded happily. Your servant only said it once to you. Late at night, after Fan Shenxi removed his outer clothes and sat on the bed, he turned to remind Qiu Xiaobei nearby, Don't forget to extinguish the lights. He obediently nodded. Gently blowing out the candles, Qiu Xiaobei thought excitedly, I can't believe Shenxi actually agreed to let me keep watch and even arranged a soft couch for me. In the dark room, Qiu Xiaobei carefully tiptoed towards the couch, but in his excitement, he accidentally kicked a chair and let out a cry of pain. Fan Shenxi could hear all these little movements clearly even with his eyes closed. Seeing him trying to move carefully, he couldn't help but smile with amusement. The next morning, Qiu Xiaobei was awakened by noise. Someone announced that the first prince, fourth prince, and fifth prince had come to visit. Fan Shenxi wasn't surprised. They should come. They must comfort me now. Qiu Xiaobei suddenly opened his eyes and struggled to get up. Hearing the sound, Fan Shenxi turned and sarcastically commented, "Finally awake? Didn't expect a servant to sleep better than me." Hearing this, Qiu Xiaobei sheepishly scratched his head. "I must have dozed off without realizing." Fan Shenxi wasn't petty about it. He just told him to get ready and have breakfast before coming to serve. Qiu Xiaobei quickly agreed, but wondered why the three princes suddenly came. Soon the princes arrived. Everyone sat in the outer chamber, consoling Fan Shenxi, saying not to be too sad and to find another good marriage when things settled down. The fifth prince kept making pointed remarks, then pretending to apologize, deliberately hurting Fan Shenxi while looking at him meaningfully. "Your legs, I did it for your own good. Think about why Zhou Sifei died." Fan Shenxi silently listened to these words, saying nothing, just quietly drinking his tea. The first prince interrupted. "Consort Zhou died because he didn't maintain proper conduct. He brought it upon himself. What does it have to do with second brother?" Yang Zhuang came to humiliate Fan Shenxi without knowing the truth. The fifth prince then spoke up kindly. "If second brother were a whole person, would Consort Zhou have left him? When this gets out, it will shame the entire royal family." The fourth prince smiled maliciously. "He has a point. If you can't even control your own woman, it ultimately shows your own incompetence. But second brother is willing but unable, isn't he?" Hearing this, Qiu Xiaobei stepped forward wanting to rush at them. His face darkened with anger as he bit his lip and glared, unable to hold back, cursing these bastards in his heart. But the head eunuch held him back, seriously shaking his head and signaling with his eyes to be rational and not get involved. Fan Shenxi naturally noticed their small movements and stared darkly at the people in the corner, his eyes warning them not to cause trouble. Qiu Xiaobei understood but remained dissatisfied, letting out an unhappy cold snort, though he ultimately controlled his impulses. Fan Shenxi suddenly put down his cup forcefully. "Come to think of it, I feel most apologetic to the fourth prince. My consort was your cousin after all. I heard you two were close and even had a marriage arrangement before she entered the Eastern Palace." The fourth prince became nervous hearing this and quickly denied it. "I don't remember any engagement." Fan Shenxi's expression completely darkened as he let out a cold laugh. "Listen to what I'm saying. How could the fourth prince kill his own cousin and frame me?" Then he turned to the fifth prince. "That woman you speak of was highly praised by Consort Zhou, who urged Father Emperor to match her with me." He frowned deeply and slammed the table, cracking it. "By your logic, was Consort Zhou deliberately trying to harm me?" The princes were instantly speechless, their faces turning ugly as they fell silent. Watching from the side, Qiu Xiaobei generously praised His Highness in his heart. The current emperor's fifth prince was actually Consort Zhou's adopted son. The crown prince's words made him panic, causing him to drop his folding fan. Fan Shenxi stared at them with vicious eyes. The fourth prince quickly stood up, waving his hands to explain, "Crown Prince, please don't be angry. Fifth brother is straightforward and speaks without thinking." Hearing this explanation, he didn't want to say more. He was never on their side anyway, and didn't want to deal with them further. The fourth and fifth princes bowed together. "We only came to visit the crown prince today, but regrettably have many matters to attend to. We'll take our leave now." This was their prepared excuse. Then the first prince also rose to advise Fan Shenxi. "Fourth and fifth brothers are just like that. Don't take it to heart. Taking care of your health is most important." Fan Shenxi looked at the first prince expressionlessly. Though he said he wouldn't take it to heart, he actually did very much. Not only would he take it to heart, but he would repay them 1,000 times over. The first prince turned inside, quickly following fourth brother out of the crown prince's chambers. Fortunately, the truth hasn't been exposed. At this time, the eunuch Xiaobei came to Fan Shenxi's side. Xiaobei suddenly knelt beside Fan Shenxi, looking up at him. "Let your servant massage your legs." Seeing Fan Shenxi's silent approval, he carefully began massaging his legs. While massaging, he advised Fan Shenxi, "You should regularly exercise your legs to keep blood flowing. This way, they won't atrophy as much, and you'll have a better chance of standing again." Hearing this, Fan Shenxi turned to look at him. Tai said the same thing. "I should have people massage them more often, but do I still have a chance to stand again?" Xiaobei suddenly looked up, guaranteeing with confident eyes, "Your servant will definitely help your highness stand again." Fan Shenxi's lips curved slightly upward as he patted Xiaobei's head affectionately. "Then I'll have to trouble our eunuch Bei," Xiaobei firmly told him. "You'll not only stand again and be healthy, but you'll also have your own children. Many women will beg to marry you." Then, Fan Shenxi reached out to touch Qiu Xiaobei's abdomen, speaking in a low voice near his ear. "I already have one here." Qiu Xiaobei nervously lowered his head, wanting to explain about the child in his belly. Seeing this, Fan Shenxi quickly withdrew his hand. He looked at him lovingly, then leaned down and lifted his chin, as if reminding him, "I don't care whose child it is, from now on, it will be mine." Hearing these words, Qiu Xiaobei was very surprised. So he didn't know whose child it was, he just wanted to use this child. Seeing her not respond, Fan Shenxi assured her, "I won't harm your child. On the contrary, I will treat her well, give her wealth and status, and even interpret." She suddenly reached out to help Qiu Xiaobei up. Qiu Xiaobei, with a gloomy face, thought the crown prince's promise was good, but she couldn't feel happy about it at all. Fan Shenxi dismissed her. Qiu Xiaobei bowed and left with a heavy heart, leaving only the crown prince watching her departure. Qiu Xiaobei came under a tree, looking up at the bright sunlight, pondering how many things one must do when they make a mistake. How much must one pay to make amends? What kind of nightmarish cycle would that price lead to? While lost in thought, the fifth prince interrupted from behind. She didn't want to deal with him, but she hadn't expected that the principle of not bothering those who don't bother you wouldn't work with the fifth prince. The fifth prince asked where she was going. Seeing no way to avoid him, Qiu Xiaobei stepped forward and bowed to the fifth prince. Head lowered, she replied, "This servant was ordered to get medicine for his highness from the imperial hospital." The fifth prince arrogantly mocked Fan Shenxi. With his condition, any amount of medicine would be wasted. Then he stepped on the medicine. Qiu Xiaobei frantically begged for mercy. But to her surprise, the fifth prince showed an evil smile. "I can spare you, but you must shout that the crown prince is useless in front of everyone. How's that deal?" A nearby eunuch tried to persuade him, but the fifth prince dismissed it, darkly questioning the eunuch. "So what if he hears? Can he crawl out of the eastern palace to accuse me?" After saying this, he turned and kicked Qiu Xiaobei in the chest. The fifth prince was throwing his weight around based on his status. Closing his fan, the fifth prince looked at the person he'd kicked down, warning darkly, "Even if I kill you here, the crown prince can't do anything to me." Soon someone came behind the fifth prince, stopping their actions. "This is the crown prince's person." Fourth prince, fifth prince, "What are you doing?" When they turned to see who it was, they dismissively waved. "Fifth brother is just teaching an ignorant servant." "Brother, don't meddle." Qiu Xiaobei, not wanting to hear their conversation, looked up at the sky. The sun was setting. She worried about not making it back in time. Suddenly, she noticed a ghost appearing behind the fifth prince and the first prince. The two continued arguing loudly, unaware. Just then, an evil wind arose, disrupting everyone. The wind was so strong they couldn't open their eyes and felt unsteady on their feet. The fifth prince suddenly turned around, finding the small eunuch had vanished. He was very surprised. Qiu Xiaobei kept avoiding the ghost behind her. She hadn't expected Zhou Zifei to be so troublesome, following her here. Just then, she tripped on a stone. Zhou Zifei caught her ankle. Qiu Xiaobei hurriedly pulled out a talisman to repel Zhou Zifei. Suddenly, a voice came from behind. She turned to look. It was Fan Shenxi. Like finding a pillar of support, Qiu Xiaobei excitedly called out, "Your Highness." Fan Shenxi stared sternly at Qiu Xiaobei sitting on the ground, sighing helplessly. "Get up. You can't even walk without falling." At this moment, Qiu Xiaobei's attention wasn't on him at all. She kept turning to check for the ghost, but it had disappeared when Fan Shenxi appeared. Fan Shenxi went over and pulled her up, and they returned to the crown prince's palace. Qiu Xiaobei kept looking back for traces of consort Zhou. Qiu Xiaobei remembered that before coming to this world, whenever Fan Shenxi appeared, all the indignity, mockery, and danger around him would dissipate. They arrived at the crown prince's chambers. Fan Shenxi took out a handkerchief to wipe his hands, concernedly asking Qiu Xiaobei why she took so long and who bullied her. But Qiu Xiaobei turned away, not wanting to answer his questions. Fan Shensi teased that she had lost her ability to speak, even to complain. Suddenly Fan Shensi noticed the wounds on her hands. He felt something indescribable. It was just getting medicine. How did your hands get injured? What happened? Fan Shensi moved closer and grabbed her hand, making Qiu Xiaobei cry out in pain. He retorted, so you do feel pain? If you know it hurts, why won't you say who did it? Protecting those who hurt you. Qiu Xiaobei felt embarrassed. This servant just feels ashamed. She hadn't expected Fan Shensi to respond. Your face has been stepped on. What's left to be ashamed of? Then Fan Shensi ordered the nearby guard to call for Imperial Physician Lin. The guard acknowledged the order. After the guard left, he ordered Qiu Xiaobei to get some books from the bookshelf. Qiu Xiaobei was confused about why he wanted books. When she brought the books to Fan Shensi, he remarked surprisingly, "These are for you. I see your 9 years of compulsory education wasn't enough." Hearing this, Qiu Xiaobei's face turned ashen with disbelief. She hadn't expected Fan Shensi would make her balance them on her head rather than read them. She was confused. Fan Shensi explained darkly, "You're too stupid. Sometimes you don't know how to complain, and you're stupid enough to get bullied." Seeing Qiu Xiaobei trying to explain, Fan Shensi angrily closed the book and glared at her. "Do I need to tell you about the rumors outside about how cruel and heartless I am?" His lips curved slightly upward. "In that case, what kind of servant do you think should be by my side?" Qiu Xiaobei looked at him, speechless. Fan Shensi suddenly pulled Qiu Xiaobei into his arms, stroking her chin. "Shouldn't you be more arrogant, more domineering?" Qiu Xiaobei looked at him and nodded. Then he released Qiu Xiaobei and asked seriously, "If any prince tries to harm you again, do you know what to do?" With books balanced on her head, Qiu Xiaobei angrily shouted, "Next time this happens, I'll kill them first, then think about the consequences." Fan Shensi flicked her forehead. "You're quite capable, aren't you? Daring to mumble about killing a prince. Do you think the imperial prison is comfortable?" Moments later, Imperial Physician Lin arrived. Fan Shensi commanded, "Stop making faces and let the physician check your injuries." After bandaging her, Imperial Physician Lin advised, "No bone damage, but it will hurt for days. Your current condition isn't suitable for medicine, only external application. Change the dressing daily." When the physician wanted to examine her entire body for other injuries, Qiu Xiaobei turned away and shouted, leaving him puzzled. Hearing the physician say she was acting like a young girl, Qiu Xiaobei turned back reluctantly to explain, "I have no other injuries. No need to check." But the physician persisted, like a concerned father. "The examination is for your own good. You won't lose anything." Fan Shensi agreed from the side. Late at night, lying on her bed, Qiu Xiaobei reflected on the day's dangers. Even when encountering consort Zhou in her chambers before, she hadn't been as angry as today. She suddenly remembered that back then, the 1st, 4th, and 5th princes weren't around. But today, when Zhou Zifei appeared, they were all present. Qiu Xiaobei sat up abruptly. She could hardly believe it, but she had to consider that Zhou Zifei's killer might be among the 3 princes. Suddenly, a pillow flew at her. She groaned in pain, followed by Fan Shensi's warning, "Are you going to sleep or not? If not, get up and balance books again." Qiu Xiaobei hurriedly turned away, looking at the awakened Fan Shensi. "This servant just had a nightmare. We'll sleep right away." Then Qiu Xiaobei lay down, staring at the ceiling. She had almost forgotten Shensi was nearby, but the 5-day deadline was approaching. It was time to find that herb. The next morning, Qiu Xiaobei reported her whereabouts to Fan Shensi. She needed to go to Bixin Palace to look for a medicinal flower. Hearing this, Fan Shensi's lips curved slightly. Little Bei knows the palace quite well, even knowing what flowers are in Bixin Palace. Qiu Xiaobei scratched her cheek embarrassedly. "People just chat about rumors, and this servant happened to hear. I'm not certain, but I must check for your highness." Fan Shensi lowered his head, continuing his calligraphy. "If that's the case, do as you wish." But he was still worried about Qiu Xiaobei. After Xiaobei left, a guard reported that palace maid Xiao Zue had disappeared. Fan Shensi's face darkened. "Under your strict watch, how could a palace maid vanish into thin air?" The guard hurriedly knelt down. "I don't know how Xiao Zue disappeared, but before she vanished, a eunuch had approached her holding area." Fan Shensi put down his brush, looking darkly at him. "First find that palace maid, then investigate who told Xiaobei about Bixin Palace." Meanwhile, Qiu Xiaobei had reached Bixin Palace. She searched through the grass and finally found the medicinal flower after persistent effort. She carefully picked it, and just as she felt excited about finding it, she heard two people arguing in the distance. Xiao Xiaobei quickly hid behind a tree to observe. When she saw the two clearly, she couldn't believe it. The palace maid was Xiaotsue. The man stroked Xiaotsue's cheek, asking if anyone had followed or seen her on her way here. His face darkened as he watched the girl shake her head, saying in a low voice, "Good that no one saw you." The man kept deceiving Xiaotsue with sweet words while harboring cruel intentions. "You're the most obedient, the one I'm most reluctant to part with. Do one last thing for me." As soon as he finished speaking, he grabbed Xiaotsue's neck. When Xiaotsue stopped moving, he pushed her to the ground. He had actually killed Xiaotsue. Xiao Xiaobei made a noise in the bushes, alerting the man. He turned his head darkly, shouting, "Who's there?" He walked toward Xiao Xiaobei, who quietly shifted her body. She absolutely couldn't let him find her now. The man approached, paused under the tree for a second, then turned and left. Xiao Xiaobei listened behind the tree as the footsteps grew distant. She got up to check on the situation, climbing the tree. She wondered why he had turned back after getting so close. Suddenly, someone grabbed Xiao Xiaobei's neck from behind. As her life was threatened, it felt like the world was playing a joke on her. In this most dangerous moment, a stone flew from afar, hitting the man's hand. Xiao Xiaobei seized the opportunity to escape from his grasp. As the man tried to grab Xiao Xiaobei again, he suddenly sensed something behind him. A guard jumped in from outside Bixin Palace. Sensing trouble, he fled sheepishly, leaving Xiao Xiaobei sitting on the ground. She then saw her rescuer. It was Fanshi who saved her. Smiling while rubbing his neck, "Eunuch Bey, are you all right? His Highness was worried about you leaving the palace alone, so he sent me to protect you." Xiao Xiaobei slowly stood up and asked his name. He waved his hand. "My name is Fanshi. You can call me Xiaoshi." They went to Xiaotsue's body together. Xiao Xiaobei asked Xiaoshi to help find a place to bury Xiaotsue. Xiaoshi worried he might bring others back, but Xiao Xiaobei had figured it out. This was his lair. He wouldn't bring people here. Though Xiaotsue deserved death, she should be buried. Meanwhile, in the Crown Prince's chambers, Fanshi sat in the main seat, practicing calligraphy seriously. But Xiao Xiaobei's voice kept coming from outside, making it impossible for him to concentrate. Xiao Xiaobei excitedly ran and carrying a box. "I found the flower." But he didn't expect to be stopped by the eunuch in front. Li Gonggong spoke slowly. "His Highness says you don't need to keep watch tonight. Go back and rest. The medicinal flower isn't needed." Xiao Xiaobei nervously asked if His Highness was unwell. Fanshi continued writing, appearing indifferent, but his thoughts were already on Xiao Xiaobei. Xiao Xiaobei stood straight, quietly watching Fanshi, feeling disappointed. "He always had me keep watch before, but now he wants me to leave." Unwilling to accept this setback, he seized an opportunity and rushed past Li Gonggong, who shouted, "Xiaobei, come back." Xiao Xiaobei ran forward and snatched the brush from Fanshi's hand. At this moment, he stood frozen, staring at Xiao Xiaobei. When he came to his senses, he slammed the table and his face darkened as he roared, "Who gave you such courage?" But Xiao Xiaobei's expression changed quickly, looking at him with pitiful eyes. "Wasn't it you? You promised this servant." Hearing this, Fanshi's emotions stabilized. "How long do you plan to hold my brush?" These words immediately brought Xiao Xiaobei back to reality. Xiao Xiaobei hurriedly presented the brush with both hands. Fanshi turned to see his wrinkled hands and waved, "Keep it as a reward." Then Fanshi suddenly ordered Li Gonggong to bring a cushion. Li Gonggong brought it and respectfully placed it beside His Highness. Though saying, "I wouldn't dare," his body honestly sat down. Then Fanshi reached out his hand while Xiao Xiaobei was still smiling with closed eyes. Fanshi leaned back in his wheelchair, hand propping his chin. "Weren't you clamoring to treat me? Why aren't you examining me now?" Xiao Xiaobei snapped back to attention, reaching to check his pulse. "The toxins in your body remain unchanged. The medicine prescribed by Imperial Physician Lin has started developing resistance." Sitting on the cushion, he seriously asked Fanshi, "Has someone angered you? If something's bothering you, you should speak about it. Keeping it inside will harm your health." Hearing this, Fanshi instantly bristled, glaring darkly at Xiao Xiaobei. "You want to know what's bothering me?" Frightened, Xiao Xiaobei repeatedly backed away. Suddenly, Fanshi grabbed his ear. He quickly apologized. "This servant was wrong. Let's talk properly." I'll listen to whatever you say. Fan Chenxi, now calmer, leaned forward looking at Qiu Xiaobei. Who promised me they were just going to collect medicine and nothing would happen? He grabbed his chin. Was releasing Palace Maid Xiaozue also an accident? Did you bury her because you felt guilty about her death? Fan Chenxi raised an eyebrow. Bixin Palace is old. Old workers wouldn't mention it to new ones. Who told you about the medicinal flower there? Qiu Xiaobei became nervous and made up an excuse. I'm not lying. My friends told me. Kneeling beside Fan Chenxi, friends I made here in the Eastern Palace. They've been here many years and know much about the palace. Remembering the eunuch's ghost, there's nothing special about them. They just know many things. Only their clothes are different from ours. He stroked his chin, thinking, remembering details about the clothes. Their sleeves have stripes, and the color is darker. Li Gonggong spoke up. You're describing the old uniform from the previous emperor's reign. Then Fan Chenxi questioned him. How did you manage to release Xiaozue? Qiu Xiaobei awkwardly scratched his head. I just used some sleight of hand. Didn't expect it to work. What a coincidence, right? Fan Chenxi continued. After all that trouble releasing the palace maid, did you get any results? Qiu Xiaobei gestured with his hand. Almost there. Seeing Qiu Xiaobei made him furious. No results, and nearly lost his life. Fan Chenxi turned away, truly not wanting to deal with him anymore. He hadn't expected Qiu Xiaobei to stay instead of leaving, resting his head on his leg and gazing at him lovingly with bright eyes. Seeing this, Li Gonggong quickly reminded, His Highness had lunch prepared for you. They've been keeping it warm since you didn't return. You should go quickly. Fan Chenxi turned his head away in disgust. We might as well feed it to the pigs. Qiu Xiaobei sprang up immediately. I'll go eat right away. After walking a short distance, Qiu Xiaobei turned back to ask, Can I still keep watch for you tonight? Fan Chenxi didn't answer, instead asking another question. Do you remember those books I had you order? Looking at the excited Qiu Xiaobei, he nodded sternly. Fan Chenxi was plotting something in his mind. He let Qiu Xiaobei choose one book and demanded he read it completely to him in 10 days. When Qiu Xiaobei heard about reading, his mood plummeted. He hadn't expected Fan Chenxi to use night watch duty to force him to read. It was truly troublesome. He felt helpless now. Why did eunuchs need to read and write? The classical Chinese from his school days still gave him headaches. Li Gonggong was confused. Fan Chenxi spoke slowly. He must be hiding other things. There are people in the Eastern Palace I don't know about. Fan Chenxi explained to Li Gonggong his reasons for making Qiu Xiaobei study. If he ever had to leave the Eastern Palace, at least he'd have a means to make a living. Looking in the direction Qiu Xiaobei left, he smiled. You and Z think I'm too kind to this little eunuch. But what if I don't have long to live? Fan Chenxi thought of Qiu Xiaobei's face, feeling warmth in his heart. That child in his belly is my future hope. In the quiet night, Qiu Xiaobei approached Fan Chenxi's bedside with lit incense, adding extra security after seeing him already asleep. Qiu Xiaobei watched as the incense surrounded Fan Chenxi. Though it would only last half an hour, that was enough. The incense filled the entire room, even making the hidden guards in the rafters fall asleep. Qiu Xiaobei stood watching the scene. Qiu Xiaobei stepped forward and suddenly kissed Fan Chenxi's forehead. Sorry, Chenxi. I'm borrowing some of your dragon essence for protection. You won't lose anything anyway. Soon he arrived at a gloomy garden, talking to ghosts hiding in the shadows. Qiu Xiaobei asked them to come out. The ghosts behind the trees were trembling. Qiu Xiaobei quickly explained, Don't blame me for scaring you. It's for self-protection. Qiu Xiaobei knelt down, bringing them new clothes. I made these according to your measurements. Made a set for each of you as thanks. The two ghosts were overjoyed seeing their new clothes. These fourth-rank uniforms. They had never worn such clothes before. The ghosts warned him that Consort Zhou was waiting outside the Crown Prince's chambers and wouldn't let him go. Qiu Xiaobei dismissed it with a wave. Why come after me instead of finding his killer? Qiu Xiaobei thought seriously. Evil spirits avoid three things. Evil people, those with strong yang energy, and those with dragon essence. I'll need to talk with him again. After figuring things out, Qiu Xiaobei bid farewell to the ghosts. It's late. Let's chat another day. He quietly slipped back under the covers, but Fan Chenxi saw this from behind, thinking Qiu Xiaobei was about to get up and leave. Caught, Qiu Xiaobei froze, hurriedly explaining, Did I wake you? This servant felt hungry and wanted to find something to eat. Fan Chenxi held his heavy head as he slowly sat up. Getting hungry while sleeping? Don't go out looking. Have someone bring food in. The next morning, Qiu Xiaobei was brewing medicine in the courtyard. A palace maid beside him bowed slightly. Let this servant help you brew the medicine. He had to let the palace maid help pour it out. While pouring the medicine, she chatted with Qiu Xiaobei. Have you heard? They found the murderer of the consort. Rumors say it's the fourth prince. Qiu Xiaobei couldn't believe this news. Thinking of how cowardly the fourth prince was, how could he dare to kill someone? Li Gongong looked at the delivered medicine and sighed, gazing worriedly at Fan Shenxi. I hope this medicine truly helps His Highness. At that moment, Imperial Physician Lin also arrived at the chambers. Qiu Xiaobei shared his thoughts with him. This servant remembers you following my instructions to try acupuncture on His Highness. Imperial Physician Lin was surprised seeing those needles. Purple bamboo needles. Purple bamboo has cooling, detoxifying, and calming effects. I've only heard of them, never seen them. He looked at Qiu Xiaobei, clearing his throat with certainty. With these purple bamboo needles, treating His Highness's illness will be more assured. Qiu Xiaobei put his hands on his hips angrily. So you never trusted me before? This medicine can't sit too long. Let's start quickly. Fan Shenxi trusted Qiu Xiaobei completely, looking at him with bright eyes. Well then, let's see little Bei's medical skills. Fan Shenxi awoke in bed and pulled his hand away from Qiu Xiaobei's grasp. Feeling the emptiness, Qiu Xiaobei startled awake. Still drowsy, he rubbed his eyes and saw Fan Shenxi awake, asking concernedly, how do you feel? Fan Shenxi remembered before fainting, Qiu Xiaobei had instructed Li Steward to prepare medicine according to the prescription, then insisted on personally watching over him without anyone else nearby. After Li Steward left, Qiu Xiaobei respectfully said to Fan Shenxi, please undress, Your Highness. You should prepare for Imperial Physician Lin's treatment. When Fan Shenxi noticed Qiu Xiaobei's gaze, he immediately stopped his movements and looked at him darkly. By now, Qiu Xiaobei's face had turned completely red. He turned away pitifully, feeling indignant. If Imperial Physician Lin can look, why scold me? I'm at least half a man too. Imperial Physician Lin picked up the needles and looked at Qiu Xiaobei. We can begin. He inserted a needle directly into Fan Shenxi's Fengmin point, followed by another at the Danshu point. The third and fourth needles went into the Zhishir and Gaomong points. Qiu Xiaobei watched as Imperial Physician Lin precisely inserted the needles into Fan Shenxi's acupoints. After the treatment, Fan Shenxi fainted. Servants helped him to bed, and Qiu Xiaobei stayed to monitor his condition. When Fan Shenxi woke, he saw Qiu Xiaobei holding his hand. Such a bold little eunuch. Did I fall asleep during treatment? When he turned his head, he saw Qiu Xiaobei still sleeping. An image of a girl suddenly appeared in his mind. This feeling seemed familiar. Could we know each other? Just as he was pondering this, the door opened and Imperial Physician Lin entered with Li Steward. The physician brought medicine and asked about His Highness's condition. Awakened by the noise, Qiu Xiaobei slowly helped Fan Shenxi sit up, anxiously watching him, eager to know his condition. Imperial Physician Lin came forward to check his pulse. Though your illness isn't completely cured, it's under control. It won't flare up for a while. Some of the poison has been cleared. Li Gongong shared his thoughts, but Qiu Xiaobei rejected them. This acupuncture treatment is very powerful. It must be paired with the medicine I found, but it can only be used once. Qiu Xiaobei's expression suddenly became determined. The real medicine His Highness needs won't be easy to obtain. We can only stabilize his condition for now. Only after stabilizing his condition can I have time to find the medicine. Qiu Xiaobei knelt on the ground, looking at him earnestly. I will find the medicine His Highness needs as quickly as possible. Fan Shenxi spoke slowly. Zi is also tired. I'm fine now, and having little Bei watching over me is enough. You go rest first. Then he ordered Li Steward to go rest as well. Imperial Physician Lin and Li Steward left the chambers one after another. He only kept little Bei to look after him. As Qiu Xiaobei massaged his legs, he mentioned, recently there are rumors that the fourth prince is the murderer who killed the consort. Hearing this, Fan Shenxi sighed. Qiu Xiaobei always felt something was suspicious. Someone must be manipulating him from behind, spoiling him like that. Isn't that exactly what you want? Seeing Fan Shenxi's expression, he smiled happily. You knew what I was going to do. Though you disagree openly, you're still helping me secretly. While Qiu Xiaobei was lost in thought, Fan Shenxi lifted his chin teasingly. How do you plan to thank me? The crown prince was enjoying the scenery in the pavilion when a guard came to report that the fourth prince had lost his composure, though noble consort Zhou was still maintaining her calm. Fan Shenxi waved his hand. Then add more fuel to the fire. Push it onto Fan Qian. Noble consort Zhou might endure it, but my fourth brother doesn't have such patience. After giving instructions, he inquired about Qiu Xiaobei's whereabouts. Li Steward quickly replied, "He's in the western garden collecting dewdrops." When he turned around, his face was grim. "That place is near the unfortunate consort Zhou's palace grounds. Isn't that the place he least likes to go near?" Fan Qianxi lowered his head slowly. "Let him be. It's just today's break. By the way, catch 2 fish for the kitchen to prepare. Make them sour. He likes sour food." Hearing this, Li Steward watched the crown prince's departing figure in disbelief. These fish were extremely precious. In the western garden, Qiu Xiaobei sat on a swing, glaring viciously at Zhou Sifei. They discussed their respective terms, and Qiu Xiaobei felt it wasn't worth it. Qiu Xiaobei sneered, "I have Qinxi's dragon aura protecting me. If you fight me, you'll be hurt too. We don't have any deep grudges. Why do this?" After hearing this, Zhou Sifei's face immediately darkened. "How can there be no hatred? If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have died." Qiu Xiaobei didn't even bother to respond. Dark energy surrounded Zhou Sifei. "If you just die in my place, I originally didn't have to die. With your position in the Eastern Palace, your fate will be worse than death." He moved closer to Qiu Xiaobei. "You think you know who Fan Qianxi is? Once you lose your value, he'll flay you alive, not even letting you die in peace." Qiu Xiaobei couldn't listen anymore and got off the swing, sighing helplessly. "You're already dead. There's no use saying all this now." Zhou Sifei was incredulous hearing Qiu Xiaobei's offer to help avenge him. "How can you help me get revenge? Even I don't know who killed me." Actually, he knew the answer in his heart, but didn't want to say it. Zhou Sifei turned around and said, "That treacherous maid betrayed me, drugged me. How would I know who it was?" Qiu Xiaobei's face darkened. As Zhou Sifei was about to leave, he waved his hand. "What do you think? Want to cooperate with me? To find the real culprit behind this?" The fourth prince arrived at noble consort Zhou's chambers. Soon, a eunuch came in to report to the crown prince that evidence of Zhou Xian's murder had been obtained, and it had been sent to the internal court. Noble consort Zhou hurriedly asked the eunuch what the evidence was. He quickly replied that the evidence was sent by Mimi to the court, but he hadn't seen it clearly. The fourth prince slammed his hand on the table, shouting, "It must be fabricated. I never entered the crown prince's consort's chambers. How could I have left evidence there?" He darkly reminded his mother that they must act immediately. Noble consort Zhou was still worried. What if Fan Qianxi is just bluffing? The fourth prince beat his chest. Whether she's bluffing or not, she's so confident in sending the matter to the internal court, it must be disadvantageous to me. The fourth prince said through gritted teeth, "Naturally, to make him unable to defend himself, so any evidence he presents becomes a joke." Hearing her son speak this way, noble consort Zhou's lips curved slightly upward as she calculated her escape route. "Then let's have this debate." At night, the emperor came to noble consort Zhou's chambers. The three of them were having dinner together when noble consort Zhou said, "What I envy most are common people. A family happily together, eating meals they cook themselves, that's enough for them." This was what noble consort Zhou longed for most. Just then, noble consort Zhou noticed a maid she had never seen before. She felt very surprised. Noble consort Zhou looked at the dish she was carrying, then at the table. "Tonight's dishes were all personally prepared by me for your majesty and are already served. Where did this dish come from?" The maid suddenly threw down the plate and pulled out a dagger, lunging at the emperor. The emperor quickly shouted, "Guards!" Guards rushed in from outside and pinned down the maid. The fourth prince darkly questioned, "Who are you? Who sent you?" The maid, with tears in her eyes, looked up at the emperor. "Who I am doesn't matter. The crown prince is your son with the empress. How could you treat him like this?" Hearing these words, the emperor's face immediately darkened. "You were the empress's maid. Did the crown prince send you?" But this maid wouldn't reveal who was behind her. "I just can't stand your majesty and that wretch noble consort Zhou." The maid continued shouting, each word striking at the emperor's pain. Just then, a guard came in from outside, shouting, "Your Majesty." The guard stood behind the emperor, mumbling softly, The emperor was shocked to hear his words, unable to believe there was an army in the Eastern Palace. The guard firmly replied, "Dozens of people suddenly gathered in the Eastern Palace. From their skills, they appear to be from the military, disguised as palace servants." Hearing this, the emperor could barely contain himself and rose to inspect the Eastern Palace. He wanted to know what Fan Shenxi intended by gathering troops. However, the Eastern Palace wasn't as the guard described. Fan Shenxi was reading books and eating grapes with Qiu Xiaobei, with no troops gathered at all. When Qiu Xiaobei heard Fan Shenxi's question, he nervously stepped back. "Your Highness, can you not say such discouraging things?" Fan Shenxi directly questioned. "You find me discouraging?" Seeing his displeasure, Qiu Xiaobei quickly waved his hands explaining, "This servant is trying hard to study." Suddenly, Steward Li ran in from outside, looking troubled. He hurriedly reported to Fan Shenxi that many people had arrived outside. Fan Shenxi's face darkened. "It seems my fourth brother is more impatient than I imagined. The game begins now. Push me out to see." When Fan Shenxi's group went out, they saw armed guards approaching the Eastern Palace gates. His Majesty is really making a big show of force, never trusting the Crown Prince. Qiu Xiaobei's face darkened. "These are the palace guards, and now they're stationed at the Eastern Palace gates. Are they treating Qinxi as an enemy?" He angrily struck the Crown Prince's wheelchair. "This is too much." Fan Shenxi noticed his anger. He reached out and took his hand. Fan Shenxi spoke to break the deadlock. "What wrong has this prince committed to warrant such a show of force surrounding the Eastern Palace?" The guards completely ignored the Crown Prince. Then the guards split to both sides, leaving space in the middle for the emperor. Everyone bowed respectfully. "Long live your Majesty." The emperor walked straight to the Crown Prince's side. With a dark face, he questioned, "I heard there are several people of unknown identity in the Eastern Palace. For safety, we must search thoroughly." Fan Shenxi feigned grievance to the emperor. "The Eastern Palace has been under confinement for 3 months. Not even half the time has passed. How could anyone of unknown identity enter?" As a father, the emperor had never trusted his own son. He only listened to the slander of petty men and came to rebuke Fan Shenxi. He had always wanted Fan Shenxi dead. He waved his hand and ordered the imperial guards, "The Crown Prince is unwell. Take him to his bedchamber and guard him well. Don't let Xiao Zhao's followers harm my Crown Prince in the chaos." Qiu Xiaobei desperately resisted the imperial guards. Hearing the emperor's order, he shouted, "Wait." The guards released him, and Qiu Xiaobei stepped forward to wheel his highness away. They returned to the bedchamber. The guards forcefully closed the door. Fan Shenxi sensed the murderous intent in the room. There might be a fierce battle ahead. Fan Shenxi looked at the girl crouching beside him, worried he might not be able to protect her. She might get hurt. She shouldn't have come in. Seeing Qiu Xiaobei's determined expression, he could only remind her to stay back. Just as Fan Shenxi finished speaking, he noticed men in black on the roof beams. The fourth prince persuaded the emperor, "Don't upset yourself. Trust that Commander Chen Jin will search thoroughly. Why don't you go rest first?" Then he turned and subtly hinted to the imperial guards, "Whatever tricks the Crown Prince plays, don't let anyone in or out. If anything goes wrong, watch your head." It turned out the men in black in the Crown Prince's chamber were arranged by the fourth prince. He only wanted to eliminate the Crown Prince. The men in black jumped down from the beams with their knives. Without a word, Fan Shenxi drew his sword and stood in front of Qiu Xiaobei. While watching the assassin's movements, he told Qiu Xiaobei to find a place to hide. As the assassin swung his knife, Fan Shenxi grimly blocked the attack with his sword. Qiu Xiaobei was startled by this heart-stopping scene. When he came to his senses, he thought of the guards outside. He rushed to push open the door, shouting to the guards that assassins were trying to kill the Crown Prince. He sought help, but the guards showed no concern. The guards simply closed the door from outside. Without the emperor's orders, no one was allowed in or out. Qiu Xiaobei knocked and scolded them for letting someone die. Suddenly, an assassin jumped out from behind Fan Shenxi, who was fighting another assassin. Qiu Xiaobei lunged and crashed into the assassin in front of Fan Shenxi. Fan Shenxi shouted, "Why did you run over here?" Silently and grimly, he pulled out a packet of powder from his clothes and threw it at the assassins. Qiu Xiaobei stood in front of Fan Shenxi, telling him to hold his breath. The assassins who inhaled the powder all collapsed. Only one still struggled to complete his mission. Fan Shenxi watched the swaying figure before him, his face very dark, calculating how to bring down those who wanted to harm him. He planned to let himself be wounded to satisfy the assassin's mission. Otherwise, how could this play continue? Fan Shenxi was wounded while protecting Qiu Xiaobei. Hearing the commotion inside, people outside kicked open the door and shot the assassins. Fan Shinxi's perfect plan had succeeded. The group at the door froze at the scene before them. No one could believe someone would try to assassinate the crown prince. The emperor's face was even darker. Looking at his wounded son on the ground, he was filled with doubt. Weren't those troops gathered by the crown prince? The prime minister knelt and pleaded with the emperor. The crown prince has been brilliant since childhood and should have achieved great things, but was sabotaged. He is the empress's only son. After hearing the prime minister's words, everyone knelt and begged the emperor for mercy. The emperor, realizing his thoughts were exposed, turned and scolded them. The emperor berated the guards, but they said these were the emperor's arrangements to prevent the crown prince from deceiving them, ordering them not to intervene no matter what happened. Fan Shinxi looked at the emperor with a wronged expression. If you truly want your son dead, I won't say another word. You needn't assassinate me secretly. Hearing this, the emperor raged. How dare you speak such words? Believe me, I'll cut out your tongue. Chun Tonglin was very surprised. He turned to look at the fourth prince kneeling behind him. At this moment, the fourth prince didn't dare to meet his gaze. Seeing Commander Chen hemming and hawing without speaking, the emperor directly accused him. Am I so muddle-headed in your eyes? Why would I harm my son for no reason? After saying these words, he left. The prime minister followed and knelt, wanting the emperor to thoroughly investigate this matter. However, the emperor entrusted this case to the prime minister to handle. After respectfully seeing off the emperor and fourth prince, both their faces looked extremely unpleasant. The emperor calculated that only by letting the prime minister handle this matter could he have a clear conscience. The fourth prince followed behind the emperor, fearful and worried. He kept wondering if the emperor knew what he had done. The emperor suddenly stopped walking. The fourth prince stepped forward puzzled and asked, "Father, why have you stopped?" What greeted him was a hard slap. The fourth prince quickly knelt down, begging for the emperor's forgiveness while making excuses. The emperor directly punished him with 3 months of confinement. The injured Fan Shinxi was resting in bed. With gain comes loss. Grandfather, you've watched me grow up. Which of these dangers I've faced over the years wasn't perilous? Seeing Qiu Xiaobei enter with medicine, the prime minister stroked his beard and said, "You need to rest well now? Leave the rest to your grandfather to handle." Fan Shinxi spoke of hardships to the prime minister, but his eyes never left Qiu Xiaobei. He couldn't believe Qiu Xiaobei would just leave after setting down the medicine. The prime minister hadn't yet noticed Fan Shinxi's unusual behavior. Then Fan Shinxi started coughing. Seeing this, the prime minister stood up and advised him, "You need to rest well. I'll come visit you another day." After leaving the chamber, the prime minister instructed Eunuch to take good care of the crown prince. After the prime minister left, Eunuch entered. Fan Shinxi asked about Qiu Xiaobei's whereabouts, which made Eunuch uncomfortable. Following Fan Shinxi's orders, Eunuch went out to call Qiu Xiaobei to see the crown prince. Fan Shinxi watched Qiu Xiaobei enter, his lips curling slightly upward, teasing, "Why are you standing so far away?" Qiu Xiaobei reluctantly shuffled forward. Fan Shinxi still wasn't satisfied and wanted Qiu Xiaobei to come even closer. Hearing this, Qiu Xiaobei sighed and strode to the bedside with a gloomy face. Looking down at Fan Shinxi, he thought to himself, "Is this close enough?" While he was lost in thought, Fan Shinxi pulled him onto the bed and patiently warned that any more fuss would result in a paddling. "If you have something to say, say it. Why are you being difficult?" Seeing his expression, Fan Shinxi smiled and helplessly poked Qiu Xiaobei's forehead. Qiu Xiaobei felt his heart flutter at the gesture. Then he caressed Qiu Xiaobei's face, but Qiu Xiaobei remained silent. Fan Shinxi became suspicious of why this usually outspoken person was so quiet today. Qiu Xiaobei was angry at Fan Shinxi for disregarding his own life, concealing the assassins in the room, and now pretending not to know. He pinched Qiu Xiaobei's sulking face. "You ungrateful one. I give you good food and lodging, let you treat my illness. How am I bullying you?" Qiu Xiaobei angrily swatted his hand away, showing his hurt expression, and loudly questioned, "Did you deliberately let the assassins in?" But Fan Shinxi was unconcerned. He hadn't expected him to be so angry. Qiu Xiaobei was upset that he hadn't mentioned there was more than one assassin, nor that the guards would ignore them. Qiu Xiaobei suddenly covered his face and cried, unable to imagine the consequences if Fan Shinxi had been killed. Fan Shinxi looked at him with heartache. "I had already arranged everything with the prime minister and others." Hearing this, Qiu Xiaobei became more frightened. Nothing is absolute. What if they hadn't arrived in time? What if the assassins were stronger? What if they had succeeded? Your Highness, have you considered the consequences? Qiu Xiaobei grew angrier as he spoke. Seeing Fan Shenxi's unconcern about the matter made him feel very hurt. Looking at the silent Qiu Xiaobei, Fan Shenxi softened his tone. If we had only let the assassins encounter the Imperial Guards, then it could have been said that I was staging a rebellion. Only by truly being in danger could the play continue. Do you understand now? As soon as he finished speaking, Qiu Xiaobei burst into tears. I just want you to live well. Fan Shenxi was confused. Wasn't Qiu Xiaobei just acting? Why did he care so much about my life? Was it genuine or fake? If it's fake, he'd better not let me find out. Then, Fan Shenxi promised Qiu Xiaobei he would live well. Hearing this, Qiu Xiaobei smiled, but unexpectedly, Fan Shenxi pulled him onto the bed. Qiu Xiaobei looked at their hands, his face instantly turning red. He was also somewhat shocked. Isn't the Crown Prince's bed considered a dragon bed? How could he let me sit on it again and again? Fan Shenxi met his gaze and noticed his discomfort. He closed his eyes and said helplessly, just sit and speak. Seeing his nervous state, he wanted to laugh. Fan Shenxi tried to ease the tense atmosphere. Did you succeed in catching Zhou Xin's killer? Meanwhile, elsewhere, a eunuch knelt on the ground, frantically begging for mercy from the person before him. He explained to his master why he hadn't reported in time. Now 3 of our best men are dead, 2 are unconscious under interrogation in the temple, and the assassination failed. How should I punish you? Then he drew his sword and pointed it at the eunuch. The eunuch frantically shouted, begging his master to spare him. He didn't want to die now, and fortunately, the master couldn't kill this eunuch yet. He withdrew his sword and revealed an evil smile. In a low voice, he said, I won't kill you if you redeem yourself. Qiu Xiaobei woke up to find himself in the Crown Prince's bed. He sat up abruptly. Fan Shenxi teased him. Awake, but not getting up? Are you waiting for me to serve you? Fan Shenxi sat up, playing with his hair, gazing lovingly at Qiu Xiaobei. How was it? Did I satisfy you? He suddenly moved closer to Qiu Xiaobei. You're not waiting for me to dress you, are you? Hearing this, Qiu Xiaobei became flustered. He was surprised to see Fan Shenxi actually blushing. Qiu Xiaobei, red-faced, reached out to undress Fan Shenxi. Fan Shenxi watched his actions expressionlessly. I told you to get dressed, not to undress me. Hearing this, Qiu Xiaobei laughed awkwardly, shaking his head and explaining, I'm so sorry, I was confused from sleep. Please don't mind. Then Xiaobei hurriedly grabbed the clothes and helped Fan Shenxi dress. Sitting on the bed, Fan Shenxi continued to tease him. Did you sleep well last night? Was the bed comfortable? At this moment, Qiu Xiaobei wasn't really listening to what he was saying but agreed to everything. When he came to his senses, he realized how ridiculous his answers were. He came to his senses and waved his hand, saying, This servant admits his guilt. Please be merciful, Your Highness. After he said these words, Fan Shenxi wasn't angry. On the contrary, he was very happy. Suddenly, Eunuch Li walked in with a gloomy face, reporting, Your Highness, the princes have arrived at the Shan Hall. Qiu Xiaobei heard the voice. Looking back at Fan Shenxi, who heard these words, he pulled a mischievous smile. Now the show is about to begin. Xiaobei, tidy up and come with me to greet these brothers. The 3 princes sitting in the upper hall all had unpleasant expressions. The 5th prince felt this matter wasn't simple. How could the Crown Prince kindly invite us for a meal? Fan Shenxi, who had just walked in, heard these words. He clasped his hands and quietly looked at them. Even if it is a trap, what can the 5th prince do about it? The 5th prince fearfully closed his fan. He felt cold sweat running down his back. At this moment, he dared not contradict Fan Shenxi. Then Fan Shenxi sat in the main seat. He ordered Qiu Xiaobei behind him to help pour wine for the 3 princes. When Qiu Xiaobei came to pour wine for the 5th prince, the 5th prince appeared nervous and felt uneasy, wondering how he would be dealt with after hearing those words. After making a round, Qiu Xiaobei had filled everyone's cups. Finally returning to the Crown Prince's side, he smiled and reported that all the wine had been poured. Without a word, Fan Shenxi picked up a piece of meat and put it in his mouth. Looking at the delighted little eunuch, he calmly asked how it tasted. Qiu Xiaobei nodded vigorously, feeling that food fed by the Crown Prince tasted different. Then he frantically gave Fan Shenxi meaningful looks and tugged at his sleeve. Fan Shenxi thought Qiu Xiaobei was acting like a pet and went into feeding mode. The 3 princes sitting nearby watched this scene with exasperation. Watching their display of master-servant affection, they felt bored. Finally, the 1st prince and 5th prince started drinking together. By now, They were quite tipsy. The eighth Prince Fanchensy came to the Crown Prince's side. He pointed at their two brothers opposite them, saying they seemed to have drunk too much. Fanchensy put down his chopsticks after hearing this. Looking at the two slumped over the table, his expression darkened. The Eastern Palace may lack many things, but rooms we have plenty. He then ordered eunuchly to take them away. The first prince groggily pushed open the door. Upon entering, he saw a woman. Why is there a woman in my room? What is Fanchensy planning? The woman turned around with a gloomy face and slowly spoke, "Let me dance for you." The first prince was surprised, feeling the woman looked familiar. She smiled sinisterly, making the whole room feel eerie. In a low voice, she said, "Don't you remember me? How could you forget me so quickly?" The first prince was shocked to realize this woman was Consort Zhou. He fell back onto the ground in fear. Consort Zhou looked down at him accusingly. "You said if I faked my death, I could escape my status and be with you. But you didn't tell me you wanted me to actually die." The first prince immediately knelt and begged for forgiveness. He kept saying he had no choice and that he truly loved Zhou Xian, yet he had slapped her. Was this what he called love? The first prince grabbed Zhou Xian's throat, shouting, "I'll kill you. Once you're dead, no one will know about this." At this moment, he hadn't realized he was actually choking Qiu Xiaobei. "I killed you once, I can kill you again." The guards rushed in shouting, "Stop!" The guard pulled back the curtain with a grim face. The first prince was still drunk, while Qiu Xiaobei, sitting on the ground, coughed violently. "I should have tried a different approach." Then Fanchensy walked in. Seeing Qiu Xiaobei on the ground, his face immediately darkened. "First brother, can you tell me who you were trying to kill?" As Fanchensy finished speaking, the first prince sobered up. He looked around the room but couldn't see Zhou Xian anywhere, feeling very confused. Fanchensy became angry at being ignored. The first prince frantically explained that he was drunk and talking nonsense. Unsatisfied with this explanation, he decided to send the first prince to the emperor. "Father should give me justice." As the first prince was being taken away, he shouted at Fanchensy, "You can't do this to me. I didn't do anything." At this moment, Qiu Xiaobei knelt before him. Fanchensy looked at the bruises on Qiu Xiaobei's neck and asked concernedly if it hurt. Qiu Xiaobei smiled and replied, "Your servant is fine. It doesn't hurt." Suddenly, he moved closer to Qiu Xiaobei, his eyes fierce. "Who was it last night who fearlessly scolded me for lying and told me to cherish my life? Surely it wasn't that bold little eunuch?" Then he stroked Qiu Xiaobei's cheek. "If you get hurt again, I'll personally take your head. Understood?" Qiu Xiaobei quickly nodded. After they returned to the bedroom, Fanchensy sat in his chair seriously reading documents. He suddenly pointed to a character and asked Qiu Xiaobei about it. Just then, a guard entered and whispered in Fanchensy's ear that the emperor was furious, and Consort Da and noble Consort Zhou had caused chaos in the palace. After the guard finished reporting and left, Fanchensy put down the documents and walked toward the bed. "It's late, let's rest." Hearing this, Qiu Xiaobei began arranging his sleeping mat. Fanchensy watched this from the bed, his face growing very dark as he reminded Qiu Xiaobei. Qiu Xiaobei helplessly asked if he was feeling unwell, but Fanchensy said he wasn't unwell, just suddenly feeling cold. How could it be cold in summer? Hearing this, he hurriedly tried to run out to brew some medicinal soup for Fanchensy. Fanchensy grabbed his sleeve. "No need for such trouble. Just sit here." Qiu Xiaobei quickly turned and asked what solution His Highness had. Fanchensy replied expressionlessly, "The best source of warmth comes from people themselves. Just warm my bed and I won't be cold." Hearing this, Qiu Xiaobei became anxious. "It's a serious offense for your servant to get on your dragon bed. Last time was already an exception. Please don't put your servant in such a difficult position again." Fanchensy turned his head and pretended to cough. "I won't force you. Go rest then. I'll just endure it." Qiu Xiaobei sighed. "Your Highness, don't be upset." Qiu Xiaobei lay on the bed very stiffly, hoping the bed would warm up quickly. The current situation was too awkward. His tense posture was noticed by Fanchensy beside him. He slowly opened his eyes and reminded Xiaobei, "To warm the bed, you need to be under the covers. Lying on top of them, are you trying to warm the air?" Hearing this, Qiu Xiaobei quickly slipped under the covers. Half an hour later, Qiu Xiaobei was still awake. He opened his eyes, touched Fanchensy's cheek, and softly called his name. Just when Qiu Xiaobei thought he was asleep, Fanchensy suddenly grabbed his wrist. He moved closer to Qiu Xiaobei. "Seems like you don't want to sleep." Feeling startled and flustered, he quickly said, "I'll sleep right away." Then Qiu Xiaobei lay down and patted the blanket. "Your Highness should sleep too." After lying down, another 10 minutes passed. He opened his eyes again and noticed the person beside him breathing very steadily. This time he must be truly asleep. Qiu Xiaobei carefully sat up, looking at the sleeping Fan Chenxi beside him. He decided to go out to investigate some matters. Then he took out some sleeping incense, lit it, and placed it in front of Fan Chenxi. I have important matters to attend to. To prevent you from waking up midway, I can only put you to sleep for a while. After about an hour, Qiu Xiaobei got dressed and left the Crown Prince's chambers. At this moment, he noticed Fan Chenxi's men watching him from the shadows. While walking, he lit another stick of sleeping incense and threw it on the ground. The scent made the guards behind him faint. Now Qiu Xiaobei arrived at Consort Zhou's palace. Standing alone in the gloomy room, he shouted, "Come out! Must I force you to appear?" Suddenly Consort Zhou appeared before Qiu Xiaobei. "You think you can make me leave? If not for that bit of dragon aura, you wouldn't be my match." Qiu Xiaobei disdainfully pulled out a talisman. "Will you leave on your own, or shall I make you? Your revenge is done. I'm giving you one more chance." Zhou Xian stepped back in fear. "You should know," Qiu Xiaobei said darkly. "Her life won't be good from now on. Her fate will be worse than yours. What's the point of lingering in the mortal world?" Qiu Xiaobei's tone grew increasingly menacing. "If you agree to leave, this blessing won't be used on you." Zhou Xian trembled in fear. "I'll leave now." Just then, Qiu Xiaobei stopped her. "One more thing. Do you remember the last time we met?" Qiu Xiaobei really wanted to know who was behind Zhou Xian. Zhou Xian remembered the day of her death when Xiaobei had visited her, and how Xiaobei had directly refused the demands she made. Recalling this still made her angry. She pointed at Qiu Xiaobei. "Even if you escape this fate, the person behind me will never let you go." After hearing these words, Qiu Xiaobei's face grew worried. "Zhou Xian, at this point, there's no meaning in hiding anymore. I want to know if Noble Consort Zhou is behind you." Hearing the words, Noble Consort Zhou, Zhou Xian was thunderstruck. She hadn't expected Qiu Xiaobei to guess it was Noble Consort Zhou. Could this not be the real Xiaobei? Zhou Xian began to laugh, her laughter somewhat eerie. Then she mocked Qiu Xiaobei. "Weren't you always so arrogant in front of me? Go figure it out yourself. I won't tell you." After saying this, she disappeared before Qiu Xiaobei, leaving him alone in the room. After his moment of reflection, he returned from Consort Zhou's chambers. Qiu Xiaobei carefully climbed back into bed, but he didn't expect the person in bed was already awake. Fan Chenxi asked where he went. Qiu Xiaobei nervously explained, "Your servant went to the bathroom. I didn't expect your highness to wake up so early." After Qiu Xiaobei fell asleep, Fan Chenxi beside him had already disappeared. He hadn't heard any sound, probably because he was exhausted and sleeping deeply. At this time, Fan Chenxi went to the Eastern Palace's back courtyard and questioned the night guards. But the guards didn't know where Qiu Xiaobei had gone. They immediately knelt down. "We have failed in our duty." Fan Chenxi leaned against his wheelchair. "Since that's the case, make up for your mistake. I want to know what methods he used and what he did." The next morning at court, the emperor's face darkened upon hearing the minister's protests. He thought to himself that adding Fan Chenxi's position now would only invite trouble. The emperor ordered Fan Chenxi's guards to take good care of him and let him rest peacefully. "The crown prince is the crown prince. I don't want anything to happen to him. Do you understand?" Eunuch Li's face darkened as he bowed and retreated. He was actually a spy sent by the first prince to the crown prince's side. He thought to himself that the emperor indeed dared not depose the crown prince at this time. In the Eastern Palace's pharmacy, Qiu Xiaobei lay on the table, worried about his highness's illness. Although the poison was temporarily controlled, it wasn't a permanent solution. He still couldn't make the crown prince stand up. Suddenly, a ghost appeared before him. "I previously overheard someone mention, on the 5th floor of the inner palace, there's a connection. If you can pay the price, you can get the information you want." Qiu Xiaobei suddenly remembered that red-haired man. He could hardly believe it. The immortal was him. By now, Fan Chenxi's medicine was ready. Qiu Xiaobei poured it into a bowl, blew on it to cool it, and told the ghost, "Let me deliver the medicine to his highness first. We'll talk when I return." Qiu Xiaobei placed the medicine beside Fan Chenxi, reminding him it was time to take it. "Your servant has cooled it, so it won't burn your mouth now." After Fan Chenxi gulped down the medicine, he put the bowl on the table. Then he wanted Qiu Xiaobei to push him outside for a walk. Qiu Xiaobei slowly pushed him around the garden. Fan Chenxi remarked thoughtfully, "Have you heard the saying? The crown prince is perfect in every way, except for his luck." Fan Chenxi slowly caught a falling leaf. "They say heaven plays favorites. Those it favors have endless good fortune no matter how bad things get." I was born well. Mother was the empress, plus the prime minister. At age 5, I showed remarkable talent in both civil and military affairs. Yet I turned out to be the child abandoned by heaven. After mother left, father emperor's inexplicable hatred. In this vast palace, everyone wanted me dead. Fan Shensi would always be beaten black and blue. Though Fan Shensi grew up with difficulty, his heart had turned completely dark. Like a wild beast, he used his sword to protect his territory. But later, when Fan Shensi tried to achieve something, his confidant was mistakenly killed by Jianghu people. Now he was left alone in the world. Fan Shensi recalled his tortuous experiences. The key witness he had found with great difficulty died while drinking water. Even in the fortress-like Eastern Palace, Fan Shensi was poisoned and lost the use of his legs. Am I not extremely unlucky? Seeing this, Qiu Xiaobei crouched down to console him. Fan Shensi didn't dwell on his sadness. Stroking Qiu Xiaobei's head, he said, "It's different now. Since you came, everything has gone smoothly. You are truly my lucky star." Then Qiu Xiaobei nuzzled his hand. "Your Highness is my lucky star. All the blessings in my life come from you." Fan Shensi was amused by his sweet talk and poked his forehead. "Your words are sweeter than honey. Just stay by my side from now on, and I'll give you more blessings." After getting the satisfying answer, he decided to return to the Crown Prince's palace. Qiu Xiaobei stood up and followed behind Fan Shensi. Watching Fan Shensi's departing figure, Qiu Xiaobei silently vowed, "Please rest assured, Your Highness. I will definitely heal your legs." After escorting Fan Shensi back, he went to the inner palace. Zhang Chengli, the manager, came out to greet him. "Eunuch Bey, you've finally come. I've been waiting for you every day." Hearing this, Qiu Xiaobei angrily said, "So you wish me ill?" Zhang Chengli hurriedly waved his hands explaining, "How dare I? I just have an urgent matter to ask of you." Then Qiu Xiaobei took out a talisman paper. "It's about the same matter as last time. Put this at your bedhead while sleeping. It will keep you safe for a few days. I'll check on you again later." As Zhang Chengli reached for the talisman, Qiu Xiaobei suddenly pulled back his hand. He reminded Lord Zhang, "Nothing in this world comes free." For the sake of his family matter, he had to compromise. Zhang Chengli patted his chest. "Whatever you need me to do, eunuch, just say the word." Moments later, he led Qiu Xiaobei to the 5th floor of the inner palace. Standing outside watching Qiu Xiaobei enter, he reminded him, "Call me if you need anything." In the prison, the red-haired man sensed Qiu Xiaobei's presence. He hadn't expected to meet again so soon. "Old friend came back to find me. Do you have business?" He stated his purpose. He'd heard there was a know-it-all on the 5th floor. Looking at the person before him in confusion, he patiently explained the meaning of know-it-all. The red-haired man suddenly moved closer, provocatively. "I like that title, but I'm sure you've heard. I deal in fair trades." Qiu Xiaobei immediately agreed. Qiu Xiaobei brushed away the red-haired man's hand. "When I left last time, you said to come find you if I needed anything. I want to know about the Heaven's Lost Night and the Star Lamp Fruit." The red-haired man leaned against the wall with a wicked smile. "One is deadly poison. One captures stars." "Interesting. I know about Heaven's Lost Night, but the Star Lamp Fruit, I'll need some time before I can tell you." Then Qiu Xiaobei stepped forward, asking where Heaven's Lost Night was. The red-haired man said expressionlessly, "Shouldn't you ask about the price first?" Hearing this, Qiu Xiaobei's face darkened, but his eyes remained determined. "What exactly do you want?" To his surprise, the red-haired man wanted his blood. This confused Qiu Xiaobei greatly, but the red-haired man said his blood was indeed worth that price. Unexpectedly, Qiu Xiaobei agreed immediately. "There must be a limit. I can't give you all my blood." The red-haired man smiled. "Just a little bit." Without another word, Qiu Xiaobei took out a knife and cut his wrist. "You can have the blood, but I hope to buy information about both plants." The red-haired man took out a bottle and waved it before Qiu Xiaobei. "You can rest assured. I am very fair. I keep my word." Qiu Xiaobei handed him the bottle filled with blood, directly asking for information about Heaven's Lost Night. But the red-haired man didn't say a word. Suddenly, the red-haired man grabbed his wrist, took the bottle, and even licked his wound. Qiu Xiaobei angrily rebuked him, hitting his chest. The red-haired man wasn't angry. "I just didn't want to waste it. The Heaven's Lost Night you want is in Bixin Palace." At this moment, Qiu Xiaobei felt unwell. The red-haired man showed a mischievous smile. "Are you feeling unwell? I should have taken less blood." Hearing this, Qiu Xiaobei became furious. "You'd better hope I find the Heaven's Lost Night, or you'll pay back this blood 1,000-fold." Then Qiu Xiaobei turned to leave. The red-haired man tried to keep him. "At least let's exchange names. I am Chili. What's your name?" When Qiu Xiaobei returned to the Eastern Palace, he met a young palace maid and was surprised by her panicked appearance. "Did anything happen during my half-day absence?" The young palace maid hurriedly said, "His Highness ordered me to wait here and take you to the imperial kitchen to see if there's anything you'd like them to prepare for tonight." As soon as she finished speaking, Qiu Xiaobei shyly turned to leave. The young palace maid hurriedly followed behind. "Where are you going, eunuch? The crown prince is busy now." The young palace maid stood watching as he left without looking back. She sensed something was wrong. Could it be that he knows about His Highness's upcoming wedding? When Qiu Xiaobei arrived at the crown prince's palace, he heard that the emperor was worried about the crown prince's wedding, hoping for someone caring to be by the crown prince's side. He could hardly believe hearing the word wedding. As he stepped forward, he heard Eunuch Li saying they would be very busy in the coming days. After learning this, it felt like a needle piercing Qiu Xiaobei's heart. The pain was unbearable. He didn't want to face the reality of the crown prince's wedding. After everyone left, Qiu Xiaobei stood silently, wanting to confirm this with the crown prince. But unexpectedly, the crown prince said he didn't need his service here. Qiu Xiaobei's face darkened, his heart full of unspeakable bitterness. Is it because Fan Chenxi is getting married that even a servant like me is no longer needed? If that's the case, there was no reason for him to stay. He turned and left the chamber, unexpectedly meeting the young palace maid on his way. Qiu Xiaobei said he had matters to attend to. Walking alone, he thought, even if he marries someone else, protecting Fan Chenxi is still my duty. At this time, Qiu Xiaobei arrived at Bixin Palace. When he opened the door, he saw the dilapidated furnishings inside. The room was eerily cold. Sensing something strange in the room, Qiu Xiaobei immediately took out a talisman. Just then, a ghost appeared behind him. What had happened here? As he sensed the ghostly presence behind him, a gust of wind howled past. He couldn't see who was behind him, only feeling his body growing dizzy. When Qiu Xiaobei woke up, he found himself being carried on Fanshur's back. He desperately wanted to know what had happened, but Fanshur didn't know either. Fanshur had found Qiu Xiaobei already unconscious. Lying on Fanshur's shoulder, Qiu Xiaobei recalled what happened. There must be something wrong with Bixin Palace. Hearing Fan Chenxi's voice, he quickly jumped down from Fanshur's back and ran to explain. Fan Chenxi's expression remained unchanged. "Since you're fine, let's go eat." After speaking, Fan Chenxi turned and left, leaving the two standing there stunned. They felt the crown prince was quite frightening just now. When Fan Chenxi returned to his room, he ordered the head of secret guards to assign Fanshur any available outside missions. A jealous Fan Chenxi was quite amusing. The head guard couldn't believe His Highness would send little aid. He wondered if it was intentional to send a disfigured guard to protect. Lying on his couch, Eunuch Bei Qiu Xiaobei thought, Bixin Palace has such heavy yin energy. Many people must have died there. If Heaven's Lost Night is really in Bixin Palace, it must be near the corpses. Suddenly, he fell into deep sleep. He dreamed of Fan Chenxi saying, "Don't worry about my legs anymore. From today on, I no longer need you." He immediately asked Fan Chenxi why. Fan Chenxi's words pierced his heart. "My legs are like this because of you. I don't want to see you anymore." In his dream, Qiu Xiaobei fell into a dark abyss. He kept talking in his sleep, saying he wanted to heal the crown prince's legs, but in the dream, the crown prince pushed him away. The guard in Fan Chenxi noticed Qiu Xiaobei's unusual state. Fan Chenxi touched his forehead and found he had a fever, so he sent the guard to call Dr. Lin. Then Fan Chenxi discovered the wound on his wrist. His face immediately darkened with disbelief. Qiu Xiaobei had been injured without his knowledge. He questioned the guard before him. "Weren't you supposed to watch him? How did he get injured?" The guard slowly replied, "Eunuch Bei probably got injured on the 5th floor of the inner palace." Moments later, Dr. Lin arrived at the crown prince's chamber and bowed. Fan Chenxi impatiently said, "Quickly, see what's wrong with him." Dr. Lin stepped forward and bent down to examine Qiu Xiaobei's injuries. His hand wasn't seriously injured, but he had lost too much blood. Evil wind had entered his body, causing high fever, potentially life-threatening. Hearing this, Fan Chenxi was very worried. "I only ask that Xiaobei recovers safely. Do you understand, Dr. Lin?" Dr. Lin was somewhat fearful. "To save Eunuch Bei, we need snow lotus from the 1,000 mountains." Then, Fan Chenxi ordered the palace maid to fetch snow lotus from the pharmacy. Seeing the crown prince's state, Dr. Lin understood. His Highness truly cared about this young eunuch. Then he planned to wipe Qiu Xiaobei's body to reduce the fever. Just as Dr. Lin took out a towel, Fan Chenxi stopped him. With a dark face, he reminded Dr. Lin and the palace maid to turn around. Then, Fan Shinzi unbuttoned Xiao Xiaobei's clothes and carefully wiped his body. At this moment, he noticed something unusual about Xiao Xiaobei's body. Fan Shinzi curiously removed what was on his chest and couldn't believe it. Xiao Xiaobei was actually a woman. The unconscious Xiao Xiaobei was still sleep-talking. His face instantly turned red, and he hurriedly covered Xiao Xiaobei with the blanket. Fan Shinzi realized that after sharing a bed for so many days, he hadn't discovered she was a woman. The next morning, Xiao Xiaobei slowly opened her eyes, looking around in surprise. "Why is this servant here?" Fan Shinzi looked at him tenderly with lowered head. "You were sweating, so I moved you somewhere more comfortable. Are you hungry? I'll have food brought in." Xiao Xiaobei sat up abruptly upon hearing this, very happy. She had thought Fan Shinzi would marry Jing Fei and wouldn't want her anymore. Fan Shinzi stared at him puzzled. What does whether I take a primary consort have to do with keeping or not keeping a servant? At these words, Xiao Xiaobei's face immediately fell. Seeing Xiao Xiaobei's hurt expression, he reached out to pat his head. "Can you first tell me what deal you made with Qili?" Xiaobei found the name Qili unfamiliar, then suddenly remembered the red-haired man. Could the person imprisoned on the 5th floor be Qili? Then Xiao Xiaobei got out of bed. "Please forgive me, Your Highness." Fan Shinzi, seeing his current state, patiently asked, "You won't tell me?" Suddenly Fan Shinzi grabbed Xiao Xiaobei's injured wrist. "Your deal with Qili was about medicine, wasn't it? And the price was your blood?" Getting his confirmation, Fan Shinzi's face immediately darkened. "If you dare hurt yourself again, I'll twist your head off first." Xiao Xiaobei was frightened by these words and quickly withdrew his hand. Fan Shinzi, seeing his startled reaction, said caringly, "You're still sick. Get back in bed quickly." Sensing Fan Shinzi's anger, Xiao Xiaobei obediently lay down in bed. After lying down, he sighed. Fan Shinzi asked what was wrong. Fan Shinzi heard that he wanted to go to Bixin Palace alone to find Tian Sengyi. Fan Shinzi glared at him fiercely. "I'll have servants look for it." Xiao Xiaobei immediately refused. "This servant went there yesterday. There might be many accidents hidden there, and Tian Sengyi's accidents could cause plague." At this point, Fan Shinzi thought of a plan. If plague breaks out in the palace, it would be quite a joke. Then he asked Xiao Xiaobei, "Is there a way to resolve this plague?" Xiao Xiaobei was somewhat incredulous. "There is a way, but it's complicated. Early prevention could avoid it." But this time, Fan Shinzi wanted to use the plague to complete his plan. As they were discussing the plan, the door suddenly opened from outside. 2 palace maids entered carrying meals. "This is a serious matter. We'll discuss it after you eat." At this moment, Xiao Xiaobei stared at Fan Shinzi, surprised by how much he cared. He seemed confident about this matter, as if he already had a solution in mind. After receiving this news, when he woke up the next day, he invited Yu Yi to examine everyone in the Eastern Palace and discovered an infectious disease. At this time, the Crown Prince had a dream where the imperial ancestor informed him that today a calamity would arise from illness and needed early prevention. The next day, the Crown Prince reported this matter to everyone. They thought entering the Eastern Palace would resolve this matter. Fan Shinzi had no choice but to seek help from the favored imperial consort Zhou. Imperial consort Zhou had her own calculations and refused the request. At this time, Xiao Xiaobei came over to the Eastern Palace carrying a pot of tea. "Aren't you afraid that if my prediction is wrong, you'll have to put on an act in public and endure everyone's mockery?" Fan Shinzi closed the documents and slowly shut his eyes. "My life has always been a gamble, either success or martyrdom. There is no third option. But what if someone takes advantage of this situation? Wouldn't all efforts be wasted?" Fan Shinzi smiled and comforted her. "At worst, I'll be stripped of my crown prince position." Then he pinched her cheek. "Besides, I believe even if your judgment is wrong, it's still right." Hearing these words, Xiao Xiaobei became happy. "Thank you for your trust, Your Highness. Please have some tea." Eunuch Li suddenly entered and reported about his marriage, saying the Wei Duke's daughter was seriously ill. The marriage arrangement with Your Highness might need to be delayed. This was exactly what he wanted. "Send some health tonics over and convey my regards. Tell Miss Wei to rest well." Eunuch Li helplessly said, "But the Wei household won't let Eastern Palace people in." Fan Shinzi darkly told him, "Then just shout at the gate. Whether they accept it or not is their business." After Eunuch Li left, Xiao Xiaobei snorted coldly and angrily spoke. "That Wei Jia is clearly just avoiding suspicion. It's too much." Hearing this, Fan Shinzi found it somewhat amusing. "I know about these things, but what does Wei Jia have to do with me? I don't care about that woman." At this moment, Qiu Xiaobei was already beaming with joy and very enthusiastic about work. This servant will go find Dr. Lin to prepare the antidote matters. Only a very puzzled Fan Shenxi remained. Seeing her about to leave, Fan Shenxi suddenly reached out and grabbed Qiu Xiaobei, telling her to return early. If she wasn't back before dinner, I'll personally come to catch you. Then she arrived at the pharmacy. Dr. Lin teased her about being so slow. Xiaobei, come quickly and look at the medicine I just developed. I had no choice. His Highness wouldn't let me out. Only after much promise did he let me come. Being favored by the master is quite troublesome, Qiu Xiaobei said proudly. When Qiu Xiaobei finished speaking, the room fell into silence. She awkwardly came to Dr. Lin's side to ease the tension. Didn't Dr. Lin want me to look at the medicine? Then she looked at the medicine powder on the table and bent down to smell it. With just one sniff, she knew the dosage of the needle drink liquid was wrong. Dr. Lin was surprised that she could tell the dosage was wrong with just one smell. He slowly said, I have other medicines here. Help me smell them. Qiu Xiaobei agreed without hesitation. She calculated in her mind, I want to ask you about the Wei Duke's demon girl. Just want to know what kind of person she is. Dr. Lin's expression became difficult. He advised, what does it matter to you what the Wei Duke's demon girl is like? Hearing Qiu Xiaobei's words, he worried for her. In this palace, you can't just do whatever you want. Do you think you've won after what happened recently? Dr. Lin reminded her of her current situation. He felt it was quite the opposite. The better things seem, the more difficult they become. Fan Shenxi couldn't refuse at this time. He must compromise for the emperor's face, even if the alliance brings other troubles. For temporary harmony and the lives of others in the Eastern Palace, this alliance must be made. At this time, Qiu Xiaobei's face showed some worry. Dr. Lin patted her shoulder. Don't you understand? This marriage must happen. Fan Shenxi has no room to resist, and you have even less. I know what's in your heart, but you can't disrupt His Highness's wedding. Can you understand? Qiu Xiaobei angrily shook off Dr. Lin's hand, shouting, I don't understand. Then Qiu Xiaobei turned and left. Everyone is against Fan Shenxi. Why should I work hard making medicine for their survival? Why do they all make demands of me? Dr. Lin squatted down and sighed, looking at the medicine Qiu Xiaobei had thrown on the ground. He noticed something wasn't right. How could that once timid person now have such a temper? Qiu Xiaobei silently returned, kneeling down to help Dr. Lin clean up the scattered medicine. By now, he had faced reality. Fan Shenxi didn't need him. His heart was in great pain, but he didn't know who to tell. Some things seemed possible in theory, but in reality, they couldn't just run away together. Qiu Xiaobei thought about how Fan Shenxi still needed to survive in the palace and continue dealing with various factions, and I should stand by his side to help him now. Watching the angry Qiu Xiaobei leave, Dr. Lin sighed softly. The hardest thing isn't when good-tempered people accommodate you, but when someone with a bad temper willingly endures everything. Dr. Lin stroked his beard, wondering if such a person could really be an actor. And Qiu Xiaobei's temperament didn't seem like that of a child from a poor family at all. Qiu Xiaobei suddenly turned and called to Dr. Lin. What are you standing there for? Hurry up and take the medicine. Dr. Lin was surprised to hear this, not expecting him to still be thinking about making medicine. 3 days passed quickly. A group of imperial guards carrying weapons arrived at the Eastern Palace. They said they were ordered to thoroughly investigate the Eastern Palace, asking the eunuchs not to obstruct them. Qiu Xiaobei saw these soldiers, but didn't know what had happened. He took out a piece of gold to ask the guards what was happening in the Eastern Palace. The soldier then took him to a secluded place. Everyone's talking about it now. Don't you really know? At this moment, Qiu Xiaobei remembered Fan Shenxi's plan. He awkwardly scratched his cheek. I've been away these past few days. In truth, Qiu Xiaobei had been busy with the antidote and had no time to pay attention to public matters. The soldier shook his head helplessly. You've returned at quite a bad time. The palace is in chaos now. The plague is spreading everywhere. This started 3 days ago. Consort E held a feast to celebrate her 5 months of pregnancy, inviting various consorts. She ordered palace maids to serve the dishes. Consort E held a grand banquet. She suddenly scolded a palace maid, but the maid stood frozen in place. No one present expected that the palace maid would suddenly collapse and die. This scene frightened everyone present, and they had all been exposed to the contagion. The guard's face showed fear. After the royal physicians examined the dead maid's body, they found something unusual. Since that night, the entire palace has been in panic. These days he had been focused on making medicine with Dr. Lin. He really hadn't expected the disease to start spreading outside. nor did he expect it to become this serious. Qiu Xiaobei waved his hand. What does this have to do with coming to the Eastern Palace? The guard replied that now people in all palaces were infected, and everyone suspected it originated from the Eastern Palace. The Imperial Guard commander stood nearby shouting for assembly, asking if they had found anything. The guard who was talking to Qiu Xiaobei hurriedly waved. I need to go. After the guards assembled, they all responded to their superior that they hadn't found anything unusual. They would soon move on to search the next palace. Just then, Fan Shenxi came out from his chambers, asking the guard commander to stay for a moment. Eunuch stood aside. His Highness has something to say. Please stay. Fan Shenxi sat in his wheelchair, looking somewhat impatient. I heard about what happened days ago. I said earlier that there were unclean things in the palace that needed early prevention. The guard commander didn't understand the crown prince's words, his face dark as he wondered if the prince wanted to express dissatisfaction through him. Fan Shenxi had the eunuch give him medicine, saying this is to prevent the illness. It can be sprayed throughout the palace. Though I don't know if it's in time, I still want to do what little I can. Just as they were about to turn and leave, Fan Shenxi spoke from behind. Please ask those spreading rumors when you return. If the Eastern Palace were truly the source, would I broadcast it everywhere? Fan Shenxi's face showed hurt. Am I crazy? Or do I wish for death? Or perhaps they really think I can't touch them? Jane Weijun returned to report to the emperor. Your subject has searched the Eastern Palace and found nothing unusual. The emperor then ordered them to stop watching the Eastern Palace. The emperor asked with a gloomy face, earlier, I ordered you to gather all the sick people in the suburban estate. Have they all been sent there? The guard commander bowed and replied they had, but added that someone just reported. Consort E is showing symptoms of illness. How should we handle this? Hearing this, the emperor's face instantly darkened. Send her to the estate immediately. I said no exceptions, regardless of who they are. He was somewhat incredulous and tried to persuade the emperor. Consort E is pregnant, and that estate is full of infected people. The emperor waved his hand angrily. Don't I know that? She's infected now. How could the child in her womb be healthy? I don't lack sons, much less an unborn one. The guard commander could only agree. He never thought the emperor could be so ruthless, not even sparing an unborn child. After he agreed, the emperor turned and dismissed him. If anyone else in the palace becomes infected, send them to the estate. Remember, regardless of their status. In the evening, Fan Shenxi sat with Qiu Xiaobei. Fan Shenxi was listening to Qiu Xiaobei reading, and suddenly asked him to repeat the previous line. Qiu Xiaobei hid behind the book, mumbling that he'd forgotten a character. Fan Shenxi rested his head on his hand and smiled. Should I help you? Then Fan Shenxi made an outrageous proposal. For every character Qiu Xiaobei couldn't read, he would touch his belly. Qiu Xiaobei felt this punishment was too embarrassing. However, Qiu Xiaobei dared not say anything. Fan Shenxi, sitting on the other side, urged him, hurry up, don't delay my communication with the child in your belly. Qiu Xiaobei's face reddened as he slowly stood up. Why is your highness so fixated on this punishment? Could he have discovered something? Just as he was about to touch Qiu Xiaobei's belly, Eunuch suddenly entered and interrupted. Noticing his highness's mood, he quickly announced that Consort Shu requested an audience. Fan Shenxi didn't want to see Consort Shu. It's already late. It's improper. Tell her to return. Eunuch quickly added, she came disguised as a palace maid. Qiu Xiaobei was very pleased seeing Fan Shenxi trying to avoid suspicion. This servant is hungry now. Could your highness join me for some food? Hearing this, Fan Shenxi poked his head with the book. You can't even read properly, yet you want to eat? But he didn't expect Qiu Xiaobei to use his trump card. Then Eunuch came in again. Consort Shu says she'll grant any request if you'll see her. Should we let her in? Fan Shenxi thought for a moment. Any request? Consort Shu really knows how to negotiate. Qiu Xiaobei glanced at him. Consort Shu has always been among the most upright of the consorts. If she's coming to you with such a promise, perhaps she's seeking protection? When Consort Shu entered and received the crown prince's permission to sit, she remarked, the Eastern Palace is now the most peaceful and comfortable place in the palace. Isn't that so? Fan Shenxi wasn't pleased with her praise. The Eastern Palace is a place everyone despises. Don't you know that? Or have you forgotten? Consort Shu smiled gracefully. They long for and envy it. How could they have the right to despise it? So why does your highness pretend not to know? She slowly stood up. The palace is in chaos now because we didn't heed your warnings before. You must be in the most advantageous position now. Fan Shenxi hadn't expected that an unremarkable Consort Shu would be so shrewd. So Consort Shu came tonight to criticize me as well? Hearing this, Consort Shu quickly knelt down. I came disguised as a palace maid tonight only to beg the crown prince for medicine to save my son. She looked up at the crown prince. Please, considering that Jeaner and I have never harmed you, save him. Only you can save him now. Consort Shu considered her bargaining position. The crown prince hated these brothers and sisters most and despised family ties. But if even he wouldn't save a life, then no one will save them. Jeaner has already agreed. The crown prince can only use his trump card. You know my family has some influence in the Ministry of War. The Minister of War is elderly and will retire soon. These bargaining chips are indeed convincing. Crown Prince, as long as you can cure Jeaner, I'll immediately leave a letter for my family. If you don't trust me, I don't have to agree. Then Fan Shinsi waved for Chiu Xiaobei to get the medicine. When he took it out, he handed it directly to Consort Shu. After receiving the medicine, Consort Shu thanked the crown prince. Fan Shinsi's thinking was always on the level of transaction. They were making an equal exchange, so there was no need for thanks. At this time, he reminded the consort that this medicine could only ease the symptoms, not cure them completely. My people are still preparing the antidote. Once it's ready, I'll have someone deliver it to you. Consort Shu was so moved that tears fell from her eyes. She had to thank the crown prince for saving Jeaner no matter what. After leaving the crown prince's palace, she couldn't believe the crown prince actually had the antidote. It seemed he had anticipated someone would come asking for medicine. Those people still wanted to fight against the crown prince. How naive. At this moment, a guard named Ji ran in, shouting that something terrible was about to happen to the crown prince. They just received news that the emperor ordered to burn everyone in the manor. In the evening at the suburban manor, the imperial guards were dragging a commoner who was cursing at them. You murderers! Why are you locking me up? Let me out. The imperial guard commander looked at the people in the house, feeling overwhelmed by fear. He felt some reluctance, but dared not disobey the imperial order, so he had to comply. Hearing these wails, his heart was filled with grief. He had killed assassins, rebels, raided homes of traitors, and killed enemies in battle, but he had never done something so inhumane. The military commander recalled the emperor's strict orders. Despite his repeated pleas, the emperor wouldn't budge. The emperor only thought that the longer they waited, the more people would die. The emperor directly refused. In his mind, what's the difference of a few thousand people in our great dynasty? He showed no consideration for the common people at all. The imperial guard commander ordered his subordinates to take torches. At this time, a guard asked if everything was ready, but questioned if they really had to burn them to death. Commander Qin's face darkened. Can we disobey the imperial edict? Perhaps this was the only way to prevent more infections. Then he shouted for everyone to listen to orders. Just then, a carriage rushed up from behind, with someone urgently calling for help. Hearing the voice, Commander Chen turned around in surprise. Fan Shinsi walked toward the carriage. If I hadn't come, you would have locked these people inside and burned them all? But this is the emperor's order. The imperial guards dare not disobey. With a dark face, he scolded Commander Chen. Most people inside haven't even fallen ill. This is massacre. You're completely disregarding people's lives. At this moment, the onlookers excitedly expressed their agreement. This is murder. Release them quickly. The imperial guards were about to lose control of the crowd. Commander Chen approached Fan Shinsi and whispered, "This is the emperor's order. I beg your highness, let's discuss this after returning." Fan Shinsi refused without even looking up. He moved to block the manor's gate. As long as I, Fan Shinsi, am here, I will never allow you to carelessly take people's lives. The crown prince's actions aroused public anger. The crowd shouted in unison, "We support the crown prince." Commander Qin's face darkened. "Please, your highness, don't obstruct official business." Fan Shinsi waved his hand, pulling a smile at the corner of his mouth. "If you insist on doing this, then burn me along with them." Hearing this, Commander Qin's face darkened. It was rumored the crown prince was cold-hearted, yet he spoke such words. This completely prevented the commander from taking any rash action. Commander Chen could only kneel and beg the crown prince to step aside. But Fan Shinsi remained motionless. "I have received a warning from the imperial ancestor in my dreams, and can find a way to save them." Fan Shinsi's face showed some grievance as he told Commander Chen to inform the emperor that he would definitely cure these people. "If anything happens to these people, I will take full responsibility." Subsequently, Commander Chen went to the imperial study, knelt on the ground to report the crown prince's intentions to the emperor. and specially came to inquire about the emperor's final decision. Upon hearing about the crown prince's actions, the emperor was furious and threw his teacup in front of Commander Chun. The crown prince is being ridiculous. He really thinks he's some kind of savior. He initially wanted to say if the crown prince wanted to die, then let him die. But when he calmed down, he realized the crown prince couldn't die yet. At this time, 2 ministers reported to him. "There are thousands of people there. Please reconsider, Your Majesty." One elderly official said they needed to find the source of the plague, and the infected must die. The 2 ministers had different opinions and began arguing in the hall. "The crown prince is kind-hearted. Why not let him try, Lord Zhou? But if the crown prince fails, it will cause the disease to spread further." Then the imperial tutor came up with an idea. They could give the crown prince a time limit and seal off the manor. If the crown prince wants to save them, let's see what he can do. The emperor then asked for the prime minister's opinion. The prime minister thought the imperial tutor's suggestion was reasonable. "I also believe the crown prince can find an antidote and save these people." The prime minister continued, saying if the crown prince insists, they should give him a chance and lock him in the manor too. But Lord Zhou continued to oppose. The emperor turned away, not wanting to hear their arguments. He immediately issued an edict for the crown prince to enter the manor. Success would depend on him alone. This suited the emperor's intentions. If the crown prince truly lost his life, it wouldn't be blamed on him as the father, and the ministers wouldn't discuss it further. At the suburban manor, the imperial guards announced the edict. "The crown prince is benevolent and cares for the common people. We specially permit the crown prince to enter the manor to make an antidote, with a time limit. Anyone who leaves during this period will be executed without mercy." Commander Chun could hardly believe this edict. After the imperial guards finished announcing it, he stepped forward to verify its authenticity. The edict was jointly decided by the emperor and court officials. Fan Shenxi saw Commander Chen's difficulty and stated his 2 requirements. "I only need adequate clothing and food supplies, and summon Lin Tai here." Commander Chun was confused, but Fan Shenxi said Lin Tai would understand. As soon as he finished speaking, he turned and walked into the manor. Fan Shenxi turned to look at Qiu Xiaobei. "It's extremely dangerous. You must be careful." To avoid worrying him, Qiu Xiaobei said, "I have a special constitution. I won't get infected." Hearing this, Fan Shenxi understood. "I almost forgot. My little Bei is quite capable. There won't be any danger." When they went in, they saw windows sealed with wooden boards and many uninfected people inside. The scene was heartbreaking. Fan Shenxi warned, "I'll let you out, but for the next 10 days, you must follow my arrangements. Otherwise, you can try being burned alive early." When the door opened, people rushed out, finally breathing fresh air. This scene instantly darkened Fan Shenxi's face. He scolded them. "Have you all forgotten what I just said? Did you forget everything after coming out?" The people, frightened by Fan Shenxi's aura, trembled and stood frozen in place, not daring to make a sound. Everything suddenly became quiet. Qiu Xiaobei shouted, "Everyone listen to my instructions. Some will clean the manor, others will help me care for the patients." Suddenly, a man loudly questioned, "Why should we care for those people? What if we get sick too?" Men nearby agreed. Qiu Xiaobei waved her hand and explained helplessly, "Help others is to help ourselves. Our goal is to leave here and return home." Then a man in the crowd agreed, "If not for the crown prince, we'd be burned alive already. Only the crown prince can save us now. If anyone disobeys, I, Old Ji, will be the first to deal with them." As soon as he finished, Qiu Xiaobei happily clapped her hands, and they all shouted together, "We'll get out alive." Qiu Xiaobei and Imperial Physician Lin were treating a seriously ill person. This can temporarily relieve the patient's pain. Give them this medicine first according to the previous method. Then Qiu Xiaobei instructed those nearby, after they take the medicine, move them to clean rooms. At this time, an elderly lady weakly said, "Thank you, Imperial Physician Lin." When asked what to do next, Qiu Xiaobei instead asked if he brought the medicinal ointment. Imperial Physician Lin hurriedly took out the ointment he had prepared. He turned and applied it to the elderly lady's arm. "This ointment that Imperial Physician Lin and I developed works on your black spots. Just apply it like this on the affected areas." Qiu Xiaobei, seeing people nearby who weren't working, became angry. "Those who haven't done any work shouldn't come over. This ointment isn't free." Hearing this, a man stood up angrily and shouted, "Who are you to deny us? The crown prince said he would save us. What right do you have to withhold medicine?" He rolled up his sleeves and walked towards Qiu Xiaobei. "Let's see what you, a mere eunuch, can do. Who do you think you are?" He grabbed Xiao Xiaobei's collar. Imperial physician Lin hurriedly tried to stop him, but the man ignored his persuasion, feeling that Imperial physician Lin was threatening him. After grabbing Xiaobei's neck, he threw the medicine on the ground, breaking it. These are the rules. I absolutely won't give medicine to those who haven't worked. He suddenly pushed Xiaobei to the ground and raised his hand to strike, saying, "You've got some nerve. Since you're asking for death, don't blame me for being ruthless." Suddenly, a stone cut across the man's cheek, causing blood to splatter. He didn't know where the stone came from. It was Fan Chenxi who had appeared. He looked at Xiaobei sitting on the ground, his face very dark. "You dare bully my person?" Then, he ordered the guards to throw out the troublemaker. The terrified man kept begging the crown prince to spare his life. Fan Chenxi warned them with a dark face, "Xiaobei is my person. If anyone disrespects him again, don't blame me for being merciless. Remember this well." Xiao Xiaobei awkwardly tried to ease the tension, shaking the ointment. "Let's not waste time. Come continue applying the medicine." The elderly lady sheepishly asked, "Master Bei, could you demonstrate again? I didn't see the steps clearly earlier." Xiao Xiaobei didn't put on airs. He sat with the group on the ground, patiently explaining how to use the ointment. Kneeling on the ground for so long, he felt his waist getting sore and reached to rub it. Fan Chenxi happened to see this. He turned and called Xiaobei, "I have something for you. Come with me." Hearing this, Xiaobei quickly got up and went over. Back in the room with Fan Chenxi, Xiaobei looked at him, but he said nothing. Surprised, he asked, "Your Highness called me?" Fan Chenxi suddenly reached out and pulled Xiaobei into his embrace. He slowly placed his hand on Xiaobei's waist, making Xiaobei shy. Sitting on his lap, Xiaobei reminded him nervously and shyly, "This isn't proper." But Fan Chenxi dismissed it. "If I think it's fine, then it's fine." Fan Chenxi continued as Xiaobei leaned on his shoulder. "Let them handle those things. You're not in the condition for such work. Don't tire yourself." Just then, someone knocked on the door. Xiaobei hurriedly got up from Fan Chenxi's lap. Fan Chenxi's face darkened. What terrible timing. Imperial physician Lin entered with medicine. "Xiaobei, it's time for your medicine." Fan Chenxi's mood settled at this point. Then Imperial physician Lin handed the medicine to Xiaobei. "Quickly, drink your pregnancy medicine. We're short-handed outside. If you're feeling well, I'll take him with me." After walking a distance, Xiaobei turned and waved to Fan Chenxi. "I'll go work now. I'll be back soon." Fan Chenxi stared at the closed door, feeling unsettled. His woman being taken away to work by others, he wished he had locked the door. By evening, the three of them were staying in one room. This room had just been cleaned today. "Your Highness, please bear with these conditions for now." Hearing the Crown Prince's words, they were confused. Was it because there weren't enough rooms, or did His Highness not want to stay with them? In fact, Fan Chenxi didn't mind staying together. He just didn't want Xiao Xiaobei sleeping on the floor. He wanted him to sleep on the bed. But Xiaobei misunderstood his intention. Hearing this, Xiaobei's face became awkward. He secretly glanced at Imperial physician Lin, feeling this wasn't appropriate. Imperial physician Lin lay on his side pretending to sleep, but he heard their entire conversation. Wasn't His Highness being too good to Xiaobei, willing to share a bed with him? Not daring to anger Fan Chenxi, Xiaobei obediently lay down on the bed. After tucking him in, Fan Chenxi told him to rest early. He clutched the blanket tightly, too excited to contain himself. He never imagined he'd get to sleep with His Highness here. It was wonderful. Suddenly, cries for help came from outside. A woman was screaming, disturbing everyone's sleep. What was happening outside? When Xiaobei went out, he saw a group of people beating and kicking Yipping, who had fallen to the ground begging for help. Xiaobei immediately scolded them. When they saw who was behind Xiaobei, everyone froze. Xiaobei went forward to help Yipping up and took him for treatment. Fan Chenxi asked darkly who was responsible. "Who gave you permission to hurt him?" They all looked at each other, no one daring to speak up. Then two people spoke up righteously. "He often bullied servants in the palace. We're all going to die anyway. What's wrong with teaching him a lesson? This is just revenge." Hearing this, Fan Chenxi looked at them with contempt. "At this unstable time, you dare cause trouble right under my nose? Do you think my authority means nothing now that we're outside the palace?" As soon as Fan Chenxi finished speaking, the palace maids and eunuchs knelt down begging for mercy. Fan Chenxi refused to hear explanations, wanting to make an example of these two. "I don't care what grievances you have, but while we're here, you absolutely cannot cause trouble." However, such incidents couldn't be suppressed. Days later, someone went mad from the pressure. A woman with a knife started slashing at people. Worse still, different voices emerged. They discussed how the crown prince was only there to win people's hearts. When they were burned to death, he could still return safely. They were just being used as pitiful pawns. By the sixth day, things got worse. Some who opposed the crown prince gathered together, planning to force him to give them the cure. The opposition stirred up trouble among the crowd. If we capture the crown prince, we'll not only get the cure but can also threaten those outside to let us go. Olji couldn't stand it and stepped forward to stop them. We've all seen what His Highness has done these days. If he can't produce the medicine now, he must have his difficulties. As for you all, lazy and unwilling to work, yet now you want to threaten the crown prince. The rebellion leader shouted, since they're so stubborn, let's charge in. Xiaobei came out and harshly rebuked him. How dare you speak of His Highness this way? The man dismissed him. Get out of the way. Or don't blame me for being rough. The opposition plotted behind. Isn't he the crown prince's man? Let's capture him to threaten the crown prince. Hearing this, Xiaobei realized they'd underestimated them. Fan Shenxi walked out, expressionlessly asking, Xiaobei, did they bully you? He replied helplessly, they haven't had the chance yet. The rebellion leader mocked Fan Shenxi. Crown Prince finally deigns to come out. Let's cut to the chase. Hand over the cure. He suddenly stepped forward, looking down at Fan Shenxi. Fan Shenxi remained very calm. I promise to get you out within 10 days. But if you try to take it by force, you'll get nothing. Since you don't trust Fan Shenxi, from today on, you'll stay in the back courtyard, we'll stay in the front. Let's not interfere with each other and live peacefully. The man, hearing this, felt he'd gained an advantage. Since we're dividing territory, we should also get half of the supplies and medicine. When Fan Shenxi agreed, his supporters felt this plan wouldn't work. They shouldn't let them off so easily. They were just bandits. Then Qiu Xiaobei raised his hand, gesturing for everyone to be quiet. Trust His Highness. He has his own plans. Fan Shenxi watched the rebels, surprised they were so easily pleased. Little did they know, he looked forward to the coming days. That evening after negotiations, the back courtyard people moved their clothes and medicines. Fan Shenxi sat quietly watching them. When they finished moving the last items, the rebellion leader looked back at him. As agreed, we won't care for any sick people in our back courtyard. Afterward, Fan Shenxi ordered the front courtyard people to relax. Qiu Xiaobei agreed. Things have improved lately. Tonight, supplies are freely available. Meanwhile, people in the back courtyard gathered. The man darkly planned to make everyone serve him well. Only then would they get supplies. Some disagreed and questioned him. Didn't we agree everyone would get a share? I never thought you'd be like this. I'm going back to the front courtyard. Suddenly, someone kicked him from behind. Who said you could speak when the boss is talking? The rebellion leader was very pleased with this scene. His pride was just arrogance. I advise you all to behave, or you'll meet the same fate. The turncoat followed him, flattering him. Later, he ordered some to guard the others, saying, anyone willing to serve me, come along. Those left behind made the rest squat in corners, bullying them with their power, arrogantly declaring there'd be no dinner tonight. Meanwhile, one side enjoyed laughter and song while the others squatted hungry in corners, truly worlds apart. The front courtyard people sat around bonfires, some joking, others singing and dancing. Seeing their joy, Qiu Xiaobei excused himself. Returning to the pharmacy, he looked at the herbs on the table and rubbed his wrist. Then, little Shizi entered with a bowl of noodles. Xiaobei noticed the uneven noodles, surprised. Who made these? How could they pull noodles like this? Seeing him not eating, little Shizi urged, that person told me not to let you go hungry. He asked me to watch over you. After eating, Xiaobei sensed something odd and probed. Little Shizi even made me noodles. His Highness must care about me. Little Shizi, realizing his slip, frantically explained, it wasn't His Highness. I didn't say anything. Seeing his nervousness after being exposed, Xiaobei quickly asked his name. But little Shizi grew more nervous, fearing His Highness would learn he revealed the secret. Xiaobei patted his head. I'll pretend I don't know. Won't let you fail your duty. Little Shizi was surprised at the eunuch's kindness. After speaking, he turned to eat the noodles His Highness sent. Since they were from His Highness, he couldn't waste this kindness. After finishing, he remarked, these are terribly made. I hope His Highness never cooks again. I can't handle such honor. Time passed quickly. The medicine Xiaobei developed was given to patients, and they gradually improved under its effects. By the 9th day, front courtyard patients fully recovered. Everyone gathered, excitedly shouting, "I'm cured." Little Shizi excitedly came to his side. "We won't have to die. We can leave here, right?" Qiu Xiaobei patiently answered, "Yes." He excitedly hugged Qiu Xiaobei. Fan Chenxi, seeing this scene, felt confused. When did they become so close? Qiu Xiaobei, seeing Fan Chenxi's gloomy face, had second thoughts. Shouldn't this be a time for joy? Why did His Highness seem unhappy? After he came in, he fearfully asked, "Did I do something wrong?" Fan Chenxi sneered. "You don't even know what wrong you've done. That shows you have no remorse." Fan Chenxi ordered Qiu Xiaobei to extend his hand. Qiu Xiaobei was surprised. "Is your highness going to punish me?" Fan Chenxi, seeing the motionless Qiu Xiaobei, grew irritated and angrily demanded he extend his hand. Hearing this, he slowly stretched out his hand. Unexpectedly, Fan Chenxi took a handkerchief and wiped his hands, warning him not to let others touch him casually. The crown prince was jealous. Qiu Xiaobei clasped his hands, hoping for Fan Chenxi's praise. "I successfully made the antidote. Don't you have any reward for your servant?" Fan Chenxi then took out a box and handed it to him. Qiu Xiaobei was truly surprised. The crown prince had already prepared a gift for him. When he opened the box and saw a pendant inside, he hurriedly tried to put it on. Fan Chenxi, seeing his clumsy attempts, had to help him wear it. Fan Chenxi noticed another pendant already on his neck, learning it was from his mother. Without saying anything, he helped put on the new one. Qiu Xiaobei, realizing His Highness hadn't removed the original pendant, excitedly turned to look at him, extremely happy. Fan Chenxi's lips curved slightly, watching this easily satisfied girl, feeling equally happy. Someone knocked and entered, reporting to the crown prince that the patients wanted to hold another bonfire feast tonight, hoping His Highness and Bei Gongong would attend. Fan Chenxi turned to look at Qiu Xiaobei beside him, slowly asking if he wanted to go. Qiu Xiaobei nodded. Outside was chaos again. Two groups confronted each other in the front courtyard. The front courtyard people were furious at their demands. The back courtyard people felt entitled, saying, "We agreed to split everything half. Why don't we get the antidote?" Fan Chenxi sneered from behind. "Such foolish people can't even remember what they agreed to." Everyone turned to look. "You're ridiculous. When dividing the courtyards, you wanted half of the existing supplies. What was made afterward naturally isn't yours." The back courtyard people were unreasonable, never acknowledging their mistakes. They still came to the front courtyard, demanding the antidote. The rebellion leader spoke disrespectfully to the crown prince, angering him. He ordered the man killed immediately as a warning to others. Fan Chenxi darkly said, "Remember, this front courtyard is my territory. Who gave you the courage to be so insolent before me?" Seeing their spokesman dead, the back courtyard people were terrified. Some learned from this warning, while others still held to their principles. An old woman shouted, "Don't be so arrogant. If both courtyards fight, with heavy casualties, we'll suffer, and you, crown prince, won't fare well either." She overthought everything. Since Fan Chenxi's forces were all here, the courtyards couldn't really fight. She couldn't believe how many people were in the front courtyard. The old lady continued stirring trouble between the courtyards. "What are you standing there for? Grab the crown prince. Only by capturing him do we have a chance to live." Qiu Xiaobei's face darkened upon hearing the old woman's words. She dared to plot against His Highness? Did she really want to die? After the man's death, he became the leader and scolded the people from the back courtyard. "Are you all deaf?" Unexpectedly, the back courtyard people stood up against the old woman. Everyone from the back courtyard fell to their knees. They explained their previous mistakes. "As long as you accept us, we'll do anything." Fan Chenxi looked at them expressionlessly. Regardless of the reason, wrongdoings must be paid for. However, this time, I will give you one chance. Then, they all glared viciously at the two troublemakers. Countless eyes stared at them, making them feel desperate. Fan Chenxi ordered his guards to remove everyone and keep tonight's event secret. The guards immediately went to work. Qiu Xiaobei asked Fan Chenxi for the troublemakers, wanting to avenge the crown prince. He didn't expect such quick approval. He stood there thinking for a moment, daring to move against His Highness, thinking a beating would suffice. "When they're in my hands, that will be hell." Just then, a guard suddenly interrupted Qiu Xiaobei's thoughts, reporting a message from the palace. The emperor knew about the patient's recovery. In 5 days, he would come to receive the crown prince. Hearing this, Fan Shenxi found it amusing. It seems some people can't sit still, wanting to find my flaws to remove my crown prince position. 5 days later, hearing of the patient's recovery, the emperor was overjoyed and decided to personally visit the estate. Everyone waited respectfully for the emperor inside the estate. The emperor was in high spirits. "You're all meritorious officials of our Fan dynasty. I'll reward you well upon return." However, the officials behind him looked displeased. Then the imperial physician stepped forward to ask the crown prince, "We need to examine everyone. Are all patients inside recovered, including your highness and these physicians?" Checking pulses one by one, Qiu Xiaobei was surprised the emperor brought so many imperial physicians. The emperor was truly cautious about his highness. Physician Lin also checked their pulses. Fortunately, they had prepared by altering Qiu Xiaobei's pregnancy pulse. His highness was indeed clever. After the imperial physicians finished checking, they reported to the emperor. The crown prince and his attendants show no signs of illness. "We'll now inspect the estate." The physician pointed to the newly built pavilion. "Your Majesty and crown prince must be tired. While we examine, perhaps you could rest there." Fan Shenxi watched the emperor walk forward with a gloomy face. He turned to tell Qiu Xiaobei, "Go find number 11. Don't follow me." After Qiu Xiaobei left, the crown prince came to the pavilion. The emperor asked about his young eunuch's absence. Fan Shenxi sensed killing intent. Hearing this, the emperor changed the subject. "Physician Lin deserves great credit for curing the epidemic this time, and is the greatest contributor." Fan Shenxi gripped his chess piece tightly. If mother could see father suppressing his anger, yet still acting like a kind father in front of others, she would find it amusing. These words made the emperor slam the table angrily. "This makes me furious. So many people, yet none useful. Nothing has been discovered." The emperor's face grew darker. The 6 divisions found nothing, yet the crown prince cured the disease. The people will think their emperor is inferior to his son. He sighed heavily, rubbing his heavy head. Who knows where the disease came from? Fan Shenxi consoled him. "Don't worry, I'll find ways to help Father Emperor. Having such a crown prince is my fortune." Just then, the physicians returned from checking the estate's residents. Interrupting their conversation, the physicians confirmed all patients were cured. The crown prince truly deserves great merit. Hearing this, the emperor was not pleased. Fan Shenxi noticed his expression and asked his father with a gloomy face, "You don't seem very happy." As soon as he said this, the emperor quickly explained that the crown prince was overthinking. Then the emperor ordered their return to the palace since everything was settled. After inspecting the epidemic situation in the estate, they all left. After returning to the palace, the emperor immediately ordered rewards for the Eastern Palace. The crown prince's reputation soared. Qiu Xiaobei looked at the emperor's rewards excitedly. Fan Shenxi was confused beside him. Are these small things worth such excitement? Holding the items, he turned to Fan Shenxi. "The gifts your highness gives me, I dare not use. But with the emperor's rewards, it will be easier to manage things above and below." Then Fan Shenxi took his hand, and Qiu Xiaobei leaned against him. "It's rare for you to come close willingly. Why aren't you being reserved today?" He looked up shyly and said, "Your highness's fortune extends to those around you. I should cherish this peace." Fan Shenxi stroked his chin. "I hope you'll always think this way." Qiu Xiaobei heard someone knocking and tried to get up, but Fan Shenxi held him down. "He's trustworthy. It's fine." The eunuch who entered was surprised by the scene, but quickly focused on business. "Your Highness, the Emperor requests your presence in his study." After Qiu Xiaobei got up, he wanted to accompany Fan Shenxi to the imperial study, but was refused. "Rest here today. I'll have Li Gonggong accompany me." These words struck like lightning. Qiu Xiaobei worried. "Did I do something wrong?" But Fan Shenxi offered no explanation. Fan Shenxi tapped his forehead. "What I least want is Zheng Di's attention on you. Wait here obediently for my return." The wait lasted until dark. Qiu Xiaobei was soaking in the bath, worried about Fan Shenxi. It's been an hour and a half. Why hasn't His Highness returned? Suddenly, Qiu Xiaobei noticed movement at the door and turned around frightened, but saw no one. Was it his imagination? Actually, Crown Prince Fan Shenxi was outside Qiu Xiaobei's room. He ordered Li Gonggong not to follow him. He would go in alone. After entering, Fan Shenxi said nothing. Suddenly, he noticed something unfamiliar on the screen. The person behind the screen noticed the movement. Hearing Qiu Xiaobei's panicked voice, he announced himself. Qiu Xiaobei looked at the cloth on the screen, wondering if His Highness had noticed. Qiu Xiaobei hurriedly pulled down the clothes from the screen. Fan Shenxi watched. I came looking for you, and when you weren't in the chamber, I guessed you'd returned here. She hurriedly dressed behind the screen, having no time to put on her chest binding. She needed to find a place to hide it. After hiding the chest binding, Qiu Xiaobei realized he hadn't put on his pants. But with Fan Shenxi already there was no time. He lay flat on the ground, confusing Fan Shenxi. What are you doing? He claimed he was getting dressed. Lying on the ground, Qiu Xiaobei looked at Fan Shenxi with bright eyes. Your Highness, seeing me in such a state, could you turn around so I can make myself presentable? Fan Shenxi gave him a thumbs up. I won't mind your state. Why don't you just get up? Qiu Xiaobei acted like a rascal, rolling around on the ground. Finally, Fan Shenxi couldn't resist his coquettish behavior and reluctantly turned and walked out. Qiu Xiaobei sat on the ground, sulking. While Fan Shenxi was thinking, Qiu Xiaobei had finished dressing and came out from behind the screen. My quarters are small. Let's return to the palace chamber. Fan Shenxi stared at his cherry-like lips, his face suddenly reddening. Qiu Xiaobei noticed his strange behavior. What's wrong, Your Highness? Is something wrong with me? Later, they arrived at the Crown Prince's chambers and lay in bed together. Qiu Xiaobei asked about the Emperor's summons. Hearing Fan Shenxi's response, Qiu Xiaobei smiled. It seems everything is going according to Your Highness's plan. But Fan Shenxi didn't want to discuss the matter. When Fan Shenxi turned his head and saw Qiu Xiaobei a meter away, he asked puzzledly, Why are you deliberately staying so far from me? Fan Shenxi suddenly leaned down and stared at him. Xiaobei, you're not hiding something from me, are you? Hearing this, Qiu Xiaobei froze in place. Qiu Xiaobei quickly turned over. Your Highness overthinks. How dare I hide anything from you? It's late now. Your Highness should rest. While Qiu Xiaobei slept, his mind worried about his chest binding. If Fan Shenxi discovered it, his life would be forfeit. In his dream, Fan Shenxi had a dark expression, holding his chest binding. Qiu Xiaobei, you're clearly a woman. You've deceived me. Qiu Xiaobei suddenly sat up, looking at the sleeping man beside him. Remembering Fan Shenxi's expression, he wondered if it was just a dream. He sighed slowly, tears in his eyes. Looking terrified, he lay back down. The dream had felt too real. Fan Shenxi, noticing the movement, slowly opened his eyes with a mischievous smile, asking Qiu Xiaobei what he dreamed about. Qiu Xiaobei's mind raced for an excuse. Fan Shenxi held Qiu Xiaobei down. The child will be fine. Tomorrow I'll have Lin Zi check you. It's late now, go to sleep. Qiu Xiaobei lay on Fan Shenxi, listening to his strong heartbeat. I absolutely cannot let His Highness discover I'm a woman. I can't let that dream become reality. The next morning, Fan Shenxi asked Li Gonggong if Lin Zi had arrived. Li Gonggong replied that Lin Tai should be on his way. Fan Shenxi then pushed open the door and saw Qiu Xiaobei still sound asleep. He's such a little sleepyhead. How can he sleep so much? Fan Shenxi poked Qiu Xiaobei's cheek, but Qiu Xiaobei just turned over, mumbling about wanting to sleep more. Seeing Qiu Xiaobei sleeping so deeply, he thought he could take the chance to investigate some things. But just as he reached out, Lin Tai arrived. Lin Tai entered and bowed. Fan Shenxi explained Qiu Xiaobei's symptoms. He seemed to have stomach pain last night. Please check what's wrong. After taking his pulse, he wanted to examine Qiu Xiaobei's abdomen, but Fan Shenxi stopped him. He just wanted to touch and observe the stomach for a more direct examination. Seeing the Crown Prince's reluctance, Lin Tai said it wasn't necessary to examine the abdomen. What would Your Highness prefer? The prince angrily said, check somewhere else. He then lifted Qiu Xiaobei's eyelids. Your Highness really cares for Bei Gonggong. Because Qiu Xiaobei was a girl, he couldn't let other men touch him. Just after checking Qiu Xiaobei's eyes, Fan Shenxi stopped him again. Lin Tai found his behavior strange today. He wanted to get angry but couldn't. He stepped back and bowed, reporting, Gonggong is in good health. Nothing serious. Just avoid strenuous activity during pregnancy. After Lin Tai left, Fan Shenxi watched the still sleeping Qiu Xiaobei. Is the child already in late pregnancy? 3 hours later, Qiu Xiaobei drowsily opened his eyes, wondering how he'd slept so deeply. He had many questions. Sitting up and lifting the blanket, he saw he wasn't wearing his chest binding. It hit him like lightning. I didn't wear it last night. Has His Highness already discovered? Qiu Xiaobei got up and adjusted his clothes. Though they were messy, fortunately nothing had been discovered. It was a blessing in disguise. Fan Shenxi appeared behind him. He quickly covered himself with the blanket. Your Highness, why are you here? He replied helplessly. Why shouldn't I be here? Fan Shenxi changed his tone. Why are you so nervous? Did you do something guilty that makes you afraid to see me? Qiu Xiaobei didn't understand his words, but Qiu Xiaobei felt panicked inside. What does His Highness mean? Was that not a dream? Does he really know I'm a woman? He hurriedly pulled at Fan Shenxi's sleeve. It's not what you think. I have my reasons. Fan Shenxi wanted to know what reasons made him lie about having stomach pains. Qiu Xiaobei slowly lowered his head, wanting to explain. However, from start to finish, he didn't know how to tell him, how to reveal his identity. Seeing his reluctance to explain, Fan Shenxi's face darkened instantly. Besides the stomach pain, what else are you hiding from me? Then Qiu Xiaobei started acting foolishly, rolling on the bed, clutching his stomach and crying. But Lin Zi had just said he was fine, so what was wrong now? Qiu Xiaobei quickly ran from the bed. Your servant's stomach pain isn't from pregnancy. Your servant just needs to use the toilet, so I'll take my leave first. After running out, he sighed deeply. So Fan Shenxi doesn't know I'm a woman. That really scared me. I should hurry back and hide my things. A palace maid suddenly appeared beside Qiu Xiaobei. Bei Gonggong, are you heading back to your room? Qiu Xiaobei was startled by her. His thoughts were pulled back to reality. She quickly waved her hands, explaining, I want to clean my room myself these days. You don't need to help. If you have nothing else, you can go rest. The palace maid couldn't say anything more and turned to leave. No wonder His Highness ordered that no one should help you clean. He really understands you. Hearing this, Qiu Xiaobei could hardly believe it. This was His Highness's order? Does he know I'm hiding things in my room? Or did he arrange this deliberately? 5 days later, the Crown Prince searched for the source of the strange illness in the palace. Everyone discussed how even the Emperor couldn't find the source, wondering if the Crown Prince could. Qiu Xiaobei pushed the Crown Prince to Bixin Palace. Xiaobei, are you sure we'll find the source here? But Qiu Xiaobei wanted to try. Qiu Xiaobei pointed to the courtyard of Bixin Palace and ordered the guards to start digging there, sensing heavying energy. The guards began working. Previously, when Qiu Xiaobei came alone to Bixin Palace, that woman's spirit had appeared in this room. It must be somewhere nearby. Then Fan Shenxi ordered guards to bring a chair. After they set it down, he reminded Qiu Xiaobei, your stomach has been hurting frequently lately. You should rest more. Qiu Xiaobei sat down as ordered. Moments later, the guards had dug up the entire courtyard but found nothing. Qiu Xiaobei was surprised to hear this. Fan Shenxi felt that Bixin Palace was truly extraordinary and must have hidden passages. He turned his head, fully confident. Fan Shenxi said, you said the source of the plague is here. If we can't find it, it just means the bodies are hidden. The Crown Prince suspected there were secret rooms or dungeons. He never doubted Qiu Xiaobei and wasn't afraid of him being wrong. Seeing His Highness's trust, he couldn't let him down. He took out a talisman to summon spirits. Departed souls, if you want my help, show us the way. Then a talisman transformed into blue smoke, pointing to a secret passage. The smoke led to that tree. Qiu Xiaobei walked toward the tree. Fan Shenxi quickly asked where he was going. Qiu Xiaobei just wanted to look around that tree. He touched the tree trunk. The blue smoke had pointed to this tree. Could there be a secret in the tree? Suddenly he found a mechanism on it. When Qiu Xiaobei pressed the mechanism, stairs appeared in the ground. This was Bixin Palace's secret. The source of the epidemic might be in this hidden passage. Fan Shenxi stroked Qiu Xiaobei's head like petting a dog. He praised Xiaobei cheerfully, and Qiu Xiaobei nuzzled against him. Then he turned and ordered the guards to find someone to explore below and to call Lin Zi just in case. Suddenly Qiu Xiaobei called out to the guard. Qiu Xiaobei handed a bottle of medicine to the guard. Please give this medicine to those going down. I suspect there are many corpses inside. This medicine can prevent damp toxins. After giving instructions, he turned and handed another bottle of medicine to Fan Shenxi. Your Highness, take this. If anything happens, this medicine can buy time until Dr. Lin and I arrive. Fan Shenxi's lips curled into a mischievous smile. Usually you can't bear to leave my side, yet now you're voluntarily staying away? Qiu Xiaobei awkwardly scratched the back of his head. Just then, a guard carrying a torch emerged from the passage and reported to Fan Shenxi that they found nothing unusual below. Everyone followed Fan Shenxi down. Suddenly they discovered a stone door ahead, and Fan Shenxi ordered it to be opened. 3 guards followed the order and pushed the stone door together. When it opened, they found a dried-up well inside. Fan Shenxi clasped his hands, his face very grim, and sent people to check what was in the well. At this moment, Fan Shinsi dared not imagine. Bishin Palace actually had such a place. The guards walked over. Looking down at the dried well, what they saw was shocking. The dried well was full of corpses. Fan Shinsi ordered the guards above to go down and bring up all the bodies. Qiu Xiaobei, also curious, walked directly toward the well. Imperial physician Lin stepped forward to ask the crown prince how he planned to handle these bodies. Fan Shinsi wanted to investigate thoroughly, but it would be difficult to explain to the emperor. But if news of these bodies got out, an investigation would be inevitable. The worry was that he might send people to assist in the investigation. Qiu Xiaobei stood at the well's mouth, face grim. Suddenly a guard came over, warning him it was too dangerous and offering to handle the bodies. Fan Shinsi heard everything. He angrily shouted at Qiu Xiaobei, "Are you seeking death? Come back quickly." Qiu Xiaobei hurriedly turned back. "I want to go down and look." Qiu Xiaobei ran over and knelt down. "There's something down there that your servant desperately needs." But Fan Shinsi still refused. "What could be more important than your life?" Fan Shinsi's face darkened. "What if I forbid you to go?" Qiu Xiaobei changed his usual manner, arguing, "If your highness won't let me go, then I'll have to disobey your orders." Hearing this, Fan Shinsi held his aching forehead. "Xiaobei, I hope you won't test my patience further." No matter what was said, Fan Shinsi wouldn't agree. Qiu Xiaobei's face also darkened. This wouldn't work, but he couldn't rashly tell his highness what he needed. What if it gave his highness false hope? Now out of options, Qiu Xiaobei jumped into the well without looking back. "I'll accept punishment after I return, your highness." Fan Shinsi watched helplessly as Qiu Xiaobei jumped in. He then turned and shouted at the nearby guards, "What are you standing there for? Bring him back up." Qiu Xiaobei landed steadily on a coffin after jumping down the well. The air at the bottom felt eerie and chilling. Suddenly, Qiu Xiaobei spotted Tiansang leaves on the ground. He went over and wrapped them in a handkerchief. The guards jumped down asking if he was all right. One guard answered Qiu Xiaobei's question, "His Highness sent us to protect you. The Crown Prince fears for your safety down here." Fan Shinsi had been worried about him. Qiu Xiaobei stood up, gave them an awkward smile, and put away the Tiansang leaves. "It's fine now. Let's go up together." While going up, a guard noticed the coffin nearby. "There's nothing down here except the coffin. Bei Gonggong, didn't you come down for this coffin?" Qiu Xiaobei turned to look at the coffin. "I suppose you sought my help because those corpses were pressing down on your coffin." Above, Fan Shinsi's face grew darker. The air above was no better than below. Lin Zi consoled him. "Bei Gonggong is clever. He'll be fine." Just as Imperial Physician Lin finished speaking, Qiu Xiaobei climbed out of the well, holding the Tiansang leaves he'd found for his highness. He smiled and said, "Your highness, I'm back." Fan Shinsi scolded him loudly. "What was down there that made you risk your life to go down?" Then Qiu Xiaobei showed him the Tiansang leaves. This gradually calmed him down. Qiu Xiaobei looked at him, and Fan Shinsi smiled. "Once we find the other two herbs, we can make medicine for your highness." Hearing this, Fan Shinsi could hardly believe it. The Tiansang leaves were in the well all along. He had jumped in desperately to save me. Imperial Physician Lin eased the tension. "Your highness, it's too damp here. Given your health, you should leave first." Hearing this, he nodded in agreement. As they were leaving, Qiu Xiaobei seemed to hear a woman's voice. Could it be Lady Li? She didn't want anyone to discover this place. Then Qiu Xiaobei begged Fan Shinsi not to let anyone discover Lady Li's coffin at the bottom of the well. Fan Shinsi agreed, considering how Qiu Xiaobei had searched for medicine for him. Hearing this response, Qiu Xiaobei was suddenly stunned. He wondered why Fan Shinsi didn't ask about his reasons. Did he trust him that much? 3 days after discovering the secret passage, Princess Fan Xinyue came running in. The eunuch behind her chased desperately. "This is forbidden ground. Princess cannot enter." Fan Xinyue recalled the rumors she'd heard days ago. They said there was something extraordinary in Bishin Palace, supposedly a rare treasure hidden there. Ignoring all warnings, she ran into the passage alone. She believed the rumored treasure must be down there. Fan Xinyue was very curious about this rare treasure. When Fan Xinyue sensed the eeriness in the passage, the great door suddenly opened. Fan Xinyue slowly walked out. He was surprised to see Fan Xinyue. Fan Xinyue turned her head and noticed a pile of bags beside the crown prince. She pointed and asked, "What are those things beside royal brother?" Fan Shinsi's face turned sinister as he glanced at the bag's contents. He spoke directly without beating around the bush. "These contain corpses." Hearing this, Fan Xinyue was terrified. She regretted coming, while Qiu Xiaobei looked helpless. So this was His Highness's method. Shocked by the word corpses, Fan Xinyue turned and ran away screaming for help, fleeing in embarrassment. Then Fan Shenxi crossed his arms and said expressionlessly, "The show is over. Qiu Xiaobei, we should go." Meanwhile, Qiu Xiaobei applauded Fan Shenxi. "What a brilliant strategy, Your Highness." Qiu Xiaobei pondered for a moment. The third princess is simple-minded. She'll surely spread word of today's events. Then the emperor will have to investigate these corpses whether he wants to or not. This was Fan Shenxi's plan using the princess. He turned to the motionless Qiu Xiaobei. "Let's go back." A few days later, the emperor learned of this matter. Fan Xinyue's unexplained presence at Bixin Palace and the recent rumors had originated from her palace. When Fan Xinyue tried to argue, the emperor silenced her. "Shut up." The crown prince was there investigating the plague. Seeing her father's anger, she rushed over to explain, "Daughter heard rumors about Bixin Palace. That's why I went. They said there was a rare treasure there." The emperor pushed away Fan Xinyue's hand. "At this point, I don't want to hear any of your explanations." Actually, the emperor had already sensed something unusual about this matter. He then ordered Fan Xinyue to be confined. Hearing this, Fan Xinyue immediately knelt down, begging for the emperor's forgiveness, but he ignored her. He assigned the crown prince to investigate the corpses, but still harboring doubts, he wasn't completely at ease and sent others to assist in the investigation. After Fan Shenxi's audience with the emperor, Qiu Xiaobei waited under a tree for his return. Seeing Fan Shenxi return, he ran over excitedly. Qiu Xiaobei kept asking what the emperor had said. Fan Shenxi patiently told him, "Naturally, he assigned the task to me." Hearing this, he clapped his hands happily. He was also pleased for Fan Shenxi, as the emperor's words matched exactly what Fan Shenxi had expected. Fan Shenxi smiled at Qiu Xiaobei's expression. Except for the supervisors he sent, everything else was as expected. Thanks to Fan Xinyue, Qiu Xiaobei became anxious hearing about the imperial supervisors, fearing they might discover something. But Fan Shenxi had already discovered it was a secret chamber made by the Assassins organization. Unless they found something else, they would never realize it was actually a tomb. Fan Shenxi assured Qiu Xiaobei that he had everything under control. After saying this, Fan Shenxi took his hand. "Leave the corpse matter to me. You've been having stomach pains every few days. You should rest instead of running around." Fan Shenxi turned and added, "Don't worry about the Bixin Palace matter anymore. Leave it to me." Qiu Xiaobei was surprised to hear this. He jumped around angrily behind him. "Does your highness mean I won't be involved in the investigation anymore? Have I fallen out of favor?" 3 days later at the Eastern Palace, Qiu Xiaobei visited the pharmacy to have Imperial Physician Lin check his condition. His body was fine, just needing regular rest. Qiu Xiaobei sat bored beside Imperial Physician Lin, asking when His Highness would return. But Lin said the supervisors weren't easy to deal with, so it might take a while. Imperial Physician Lin curiously asked Qiu Xiaobei, "If people knew you made the plague cure, your status would be much higher than now." He waved dismissively. "I fear fame most. This is fine as it is. I even get to share His Highness's bed occasionally." Lin Tai acted like a father, slapping his hand. "Can't you be more reserved? You're talking about yourself like a pet." Qiu Xiaobei thought being His Highness's pet was fine, but worried His Highness might not want him. He lay on the table feeling melancholic. Fan Shenxi, who had walked in, heard these words. "What if I did want you? What would you do?" Qiu Xiaobei turned at the sound. At that moment, Qiu Xiaobei scurried over to His Highness, excitedly shouting, "Your Highness, you're back?" Fan Shenxi then dismissed everyone else. Seeing Qiu Xiaobei run over like a puppy and kneel before him, Fan Shenxi smiled slightly. "You haven't answered my question yet." Hearing this, Qiu Xiaobei turned to look at the two people walking towards the door. "Your Highness isn't going to interrogate me again?" He looked pleadingly at Eunuch Li's retreating figure. Fan Shenxi noticed Qiu Xiaobei's gaze and bent down to tease him. "The way you're looking at Eunuch Li, is he more handsome than me?" Qiu Xiaobei quickly turned back, eyes shining as he stared at Fan Shenxi. "No one is as handsome as Your Highness. How could I look at anyone else?" Fan Shenxi suddenly moved closer. "Then your eyes should always be on me." These words instantly made Qiu Xiaobei blush. He had forgotten Fan Shenxi's earlier question. Then Fan Shenxi reached out to caress his cheek. "If I wanted you, what would you do?" He thought Fan Shenxi was going to kiss him and slowly closed his eyes. But Fan Shenxi pulled away. Little Bei is so cute. As Qiu Xiaobei was being teased, he thought, the crown prince is toying with me again. Looking at the very angry Qiu Xiaobei, Fan Shenxi said, help me prepare for bed. That night in the crown prince's chambers, as they lay in bed ready to sleep, Qiu Xiaobei suggested he should sleep on the couch. Hearing this, Fan Shenxi teased him again. Looks like you want to keep watch by the bed. As soon as he said this, Qiu Xiaobei quickly ducked under the covers. After they fell asleep, 2 assassins climbed in through the window. They sneaked into the room, blew out the candles, and headed straight for Fan Shenxi. The 2 assassins approached the crown prince's bed. One drew a dagger. Just as they were about to assassinate the prince, they found no one there. Outside, Eunuch rushed to the crown prince's chambers with guards, shouting about assassins targeting the crown prince. They hadn't seen any trace of assassins along the way. Seeing Eunuch Li's panic, Qiu Xiaobei quickly reassured him. The crown prince is fine. Don't worry too much, Eunuch Li. Actually, the crown prince had anticipated this, just not that they would come so quickly. Qiu Xiaobei's words were meant entirely for Eunuch Li to hear. Seeing the crown prince's gloomy face, Eunuch Li hurriedly asked if they should pursue the assassins, but he hadn't expected His Highness to remain unmoved. As Eunuch Li left the crown prince's chambers, a guard came to report they hadn't found any trace of the assassins. They didn't realize the assassins were right behind them. None of them noticed the assassins behind them. Eunuch Li quietly instructed the guards, tighten security in the Eastern Palace. Next time, no one will be able to save you. The next day, the crown prince came to his secret position in Bixin Palace. After investigating, they found one assassin had gone from the Internal Affairs Bureau to the Imperial Household Department. Fan Shenxi lowered his head slightly. These were the ones helping with the investigation. It seems many in the 6 departments are involved. Keep watching them all for me. Last night's 2 fish weren't big enough. There must be someone behind them. Just as he finished instructing his spy, a voice came from nearby. The spy quickly vanished from sight. It was the Emperor's supervisors. As they walked, they mocked Fan Shenxi. The Emperor ordered Your Highness to investigate, but Your Highness seems quite leisurely. Fan Shenxi expressionlessly invited them. The view here is nice. Would Official Hai like to join? Hai Long ignored him and directly asked how to handle the corpse. The body will be cremated after all necessary examinations. Just as he finished speaking, Qiu Xiaobei arrived with guards to bring Fan Shenxi lunch. Looking at the luxurious lunch on the stone table, Hai Long spoke sarcastically. Your Highness is delicate. Better eat quickly. The investigation can only tire out people like us. Hearing this, Qiu Xiaobei's face darkened instantly. In contrast, Fan Shenxi remained expressionless. Official Hai, are you dissatisfied with me, or with the crown prince's position? Then Fan Shenxi's face grew dark. Without further words, he rebuked Hai Long. You're quite insolent. Are you so dissatisfied with me? Since Official Hai can't eat, issue an order that we needn't prepare meals for Official Hai anymore. Fan Shenxi was truly angry now. Hearing this, Hai Long frantically explained to the crown prince, I didn't mean that. Your Highness misunderstood me. Please investigate clearly and restore my innocence. Fan Shenxi's expression remained harsh. Resting his head on his hand, he glared at Hai Long. But I think that's exactly what Official Hai meant. I haven't misunderstood at all. Seeing Qiu Xiaobei laughing at him, Hai Long slammed his teacup on the stone table. Your Highness targets me so much, yet is so permissive with Bei Gongong. Unexpectedly bold, he dared warn Fan Shenxi. There have been rumors in the palace lately, and I've heard some of them. They're about Your Highness and Bei Gongong. Then Hai Long moved closer to Fan Shenxi. Should I continue speaking, Your Highness? Fan Shenxi remained very calm. He pretended not to understand what Official Hai meant. Seeing his indifference, Hai Long threatened, if I tell the Emperor about the scandalous affairs between Your Highness and Bei Gongong, can Your Highness keep this position? After hearing Hai Long's words, Fan Shenxi's face grew darker. The surrounding air became chillingly cold. Is Official Hai threatening me? He slammed his palm on the table. Or are you dissatisfied with my status? Official Hai is committing insubordination. Guards, seize him. This display of authority frightened Hai Long. As Fan Shenxi's guards escorted Hai Long out, he finally came to his senses and begged the crown prince for mercy. I was just eager to solve the case. I spoke without thinking. After the guards dragged Hai Long away, Fan Shenxi invited Qiu Xiaobei to dine together. Among those dining was also the Imperial Guard Yi Liyun. After sitting down, Qiu Xiaobei moved closer to Yi Liyun to inquire about the case's progress. Yi Liyun was puzzled by his behavior, which Fan Shenxi noticed. He mumbled quietly, asking if they had found anything unusual in the case. Yi Liyun didn't answer. instead asking why Bei Gongong was so interested in the investigation. Having his intentions exposed, Qiu Xiaobei laughed awkwardly. I'm not really interested in the investigation. I was just asking casually. Watching this scene, Fan Shenxi felt very depressed. The two were chatting away pleasantly. I think Bei Gongong should ask these questions to His Highness instead. Qiu Xiaobei turned to look at the Crown Prince's eyes. He felt His Highness's gaze seemed ready to devour someone, and the prince hadn't touched any of his food. Suddenly Fan Shenxi broke his chopsticks. He glared viciously at Qiu Xiaobei. My servant is practically clinging to someone else. How can I eat? Qiu Xiaobei hurriedly went to massage Fan Shenxi's shoulders, coaxing him softly. I was just trying to get information. Should I feed you instead? Seeing Fan Shenxi not responding, Qiu Xiaobei picked up the chopsticks and fed him a piece of meat. Your Highness, don't be angry. I know I was wrong. Then Qiu Xiaobei handed the chopsticks to His Highness. Please eat well. I'll head back now. Your Highness is really becoming more childlike. Fan Shenxi was surprised to hear Qiu Xiaobei wanted to leave. He had to explain helplessly, I'm just tired and want to rest. He pointed at Qiu Xiaobei's belly, reminding him not to personally deliver meals next time. After the reminder, he let Qiu Xiaobei go rest. On his way back, Qiu Xiaobei was blocked by official Hai Long mocked the Crown Prince's taste. Qiu Xiaobei somewhat remembered him. Hai Long suddenly grabbed Qiu Xiaobei's chin with a malicious smile. Even a eunuch can be this beautiful. His action disgusted Qiu Xiaobei. Then, Qiu Xiaobei angrily bowed to him. Official Hai, please step aside. I need to return to the Eastern Palace for His Highness's business. I'll take my leave. As Qiu Xiaobei passed by Hai Long, he slowly spoke, a 7th-rank official at the Prime Minister's door. A servant from the Eastern Palace sure has quite an attitude. As soon as he finished speaking, he grabbed Qiu Xiaobei, freezing him in place. Sir, do you want me to go back to Bixin Palace and report this to His Highness? Qiu Xiaobei answered firmly, this is all I'm capable of, but it's enough to make His Highness punish you. This made Hai Long release his hand. He left with a dark face, threatening Qiu Xiaobei before leaving. You'd better stay hidden behind your prince from now on. After Hai Long disappeared from sight, Qiu Xiaobei finally let out a long sigh, patting his chest. That really scared me to death. That evening, the Crown Prince was reviewing documents in the Eastern Palace Pavilion with guards attending him. The day's events at Bixin Palace had given him a headache, so he came to get some air. Fan Shenxi had guessed what happened at Bixin Palace. He remained calm, waiting for the big fish to fall into the net before considering the matter resolved. Suddenly Qiu Xiaobei came pushing a new wheelchair, shouting, Your Highness, I will definitely make medicine to cure you, but it'll take some more time. Fan Shenxi looked at the wheelchair Qiu Xiaobei made personally, hardly believing it. Qiu Xiaobei explained seriously. The wheelchair has hidden compartments for storage. This rod is hard to notice. For your safety, I also added brakes. Qiu Xiaobei waited for his praise. Fan Shenxi looked at the person before him, deeply moved, and embraced him. Qiu Xiaobei has done so much for me. What I didn't know was, Qiu Xiaobei slowly raised his head, looking at the man holding him. This is what I should do. I'm glad Your Highness likes it. At this moment, she truly loved him. She stroked Qiu Xiaobei's head. Let me try your gift quickly. Then, Qiu Xiaobei helped him sit in the new wheelchair. He pushed the Crown Prince back, and on the way, Qiu Xiaobei asked if there were any developments today. Would Your Highness tell me about it? Fan Shenxi told him about the day's events. After you left, I had them burn all the bodies. At that time, Official Hai returned. Official Hai slammed the table, demanding to know why Fan Shenxi burned the bodies. Fan Shenxi calmly replied that with so many corpses, they might spread disease, so burning was best. He was shocked to hear the bodies were already burned. He had just brought back protective equipment, but the bodies were already cremated. Really feel sorry for Official Hai Long's 50 taels of silver. Fan Shenxi's lips curved slightly upward. After thinking for a moment, does Official Hai mean we should have left the bodies for 2 more days just for you? After hearing the story, Qiu Xiaobei was thoroughly satisfied. He tried to bully me but got dealt with by His Highness instead. I wish I could have seen his face then, he responded. Next time, I'll make sure you see his expression. Hearing this, Qiu Xiaobei lay on Fan Shenxi's lap, acting coy. Your Highness must not go back on your word. While Qiu Xiaobei was still thinking about how to trick Official Hai, Fan Shenxi suddenly leaned down close to him. This made Xiu Xiaobei's unfinished words come to an abrupt halt. Fan Shenxi looked at him lovingly, wondering how this person managed to occupy all his thoughts. At this moment, Xiu Xiaobei shyly called out, "Your Highness." In the depths of emotion, Fan Shenxi wanted to kiss Xiu Xiaobei. Just as he was about to, he suddenly came to his senses, touching his forehead. Not knowing what he was doing, Fan Shenxi urged him to go to sleep. Xiu Xiaobei was frustrated, thinking, "I should have pulled His Highness down. After all, he initiated it, so it wouldn't have been my fault." Fan Shenxi looked at Xiu Xiaobei beside him and sighed helplessly. Even if Xiaobei might be a woman, right now he's just my little eunuch. Then he stroked Xiu Xiaobei's head. If I had really kissed him just now, how would I arrange his position? And what about the child in his belly? Several days later in the morning, Consort Da asked the abbot to bring a Buddha statue. After receiving it from the abbot's hands, she returned to her chambers. Just as Consort Da closed the front door, the back door was opened from outside. This scene startled her. She immediately dropped the Buddha statue on the ground. Looking back, she saw the crown prince entering with his guards. Consort Da had no time to destroy the evidence and froze in panic. The crown prince walked to the broken statue, looking at the scattered money. "Consort Da, can you tell me, where did all this money come from?" Consort Da explained nervously, "These are just small savings I've accumulated and profits from my family's business. Using my own money shouldn't be illegal, right?" Then Fan Shenxi picked up a stack of banknotes. The stack contained notes worth 10,000 and 100,000 taels. This money combined equals a year's worth of national treasury. Consort Da was still quibbling, thinking the crown prince had no way to deal with her. But she never expected. The abbot who had just met with her was arrested by the crown prince. Fan Shenxi had Consort Da's account book. "Please explain why your money was specially hidden in Buddha statues, and what do these markings in the ledger mean?" Hearing this, Consort Da collapsed to the ground. She had no strength to explain, and could only resign herself to facing the emperor with the crown prince. When the emperor saw these accounts, he flew into a rage, shouting at Consort Da. Fan Shenxi reported to the emperor, "This is evidence of the inner 6 department's corruption. Now that we have both the person and evidence, I request Father Emperor's judgment." The emperor angrily threw the account book on the table and ordered the guards outside to arrest Consort Da. Finally, Fan Shenxi produced the list of corrupt officials. "Please review this, Father Emperor." Consort Da looked at the brilliant crown prince and thought of her own worthless son. Consort Da's face turned very dark. She suddenly pulled out a dagger and lunged at Fan Shenxi. If she was going to die, she would take the crown prince with her. The emperor was shocked, shouting, "What are you waiting for? Arrest her quickly." Consort Da struggled desperately after being caught by the guards. The emperor was truly disappointed in these people. Subsequently, he ordered the crown prince to take full control of the inner 6 departments and thoroughly purge the corrupt officials below. Fan Shenxi, seeing the emperor's distress, could only take his leave. At this moment, the emperor had begun to trust the crown prince, while the other princes had disappointed him greatly. After the crown prince left the imperial study, a eunuch who had been waiting outside came to report that official Ning from the inner 6 departments wished to see His Highness. It's too late for official Ning to beg for mercy now. Fan Shenxi walked away directly, having no desire to meet official Ning. He told the eunuch to have official Ning speak with the emperor instead. The eunuch hurriedly mentioned that it was about Attendant Bei. That evening, Fan Shenxi and Xiu Xiaobei sat around a table playing Go. Xiu Xiaobei found Go boring and wanted the crown prince to play 5 in a row with him instead. Just then, a guard entered and handed Fan Shenxi a document. Xiu Xiaobei said considerately, "Your Highness, please attend to your business. I'll go rest for a while." When Fan Shenxi returned after handling his affairs, he found Xiu Xiaobei asleep on the game board. Such a muddlehead. Sleeping like this might catch a cold. He touched his forehead, but Xiu Xiaobei didn't wake up. Then he picked up Xiu Xiaobei. He still couldn't believe the person in his arms was a spy. After settling Xiu Xiaobei, Fan Shenxi went to the prison. Looking at official Ning in the cell, he wasn't surprised to find him already there. Hearing his voice, official Ning walked over. "I've been undercover in the inner 6 departments for so many years without incident. Now, thanks to your Highness, I get to experience prison life." Fan Shenxi didn't want to hear his rambling. Official Ning went straight to the point. "I want to make a deal with your Highness regarding Attendant Bei. If your Highness lets me go, Before Official Ning could finish, Fan Shenxi turned to leave. Official Ning hurriedly called out, "Don't you want to know his identity?" Fan Shenxi glared at him viciously. "Your group has been plotting for 30 years, with countless spies planted in the palace. Perhaps Qiu Xiaobei is one of them." Fan Shenxi's expression grew darker, but Official Ning still thought he had the upper hand, threatening sinisterly, "I have evidence to prove Attendant Bei's identity." Before he could finish, Fan Shenxi had already lost patience. As he wheeled away quickly, a sharp sword flew through the air and pierced Official Ning's chest. Official Ning fell dead with eyes wide open. The nearby soldiers looked troubled, but Fan Shenxi said carelessly, "Someone who attempted to assassinate me, should he be allowed to live?" The soldier turned around, wanting to say something, seemingly about Attendant Bei being a spy. Fan Shenxi cut him off. "Can you trust a spy's words? You know what should and shouldn't be said about today's events, don't you?" Later, he went to Qiu Xiaobei's place and held the unconscious person in his arms. "No matter who you are or what identity you're hiding, no one can take my person away." He then instructed the guards outside, his face dark. "Watch him carefully during this period. I won't allow anything to happen to him." Since the Crown Prince took over the inner 6 departments, people's attitudes toward him had changed noticeably. Everyone became much more respectful and compliant. Fan Shenxi arrived at the imperial study. Soon, a palace maid came to deliver gifts from one of the consorts, but the guards stopped her directly. In the imperial study, seeing the Crown Prince arrive, the emperor's attitude had changed greatly from before. He even smiled and said, "I called you here today to share good news. The Wei Duke's daughter has recovered and wants to hold your wedding earlier. What do you think?" Hearing this, Fan Shenxi's thoughts began to drift. An image gradually appeared in his mind, as if that person was right in front of him, smiling mischievously. But why did thoughts of Qiu Xiaobei come to mind when discussing marriage? So he lowered his head and politely declined. "Miss Wei is lively and lovely. Wouldn't it be too unfair for her to marry me?" Hearing this, the emperor became angry. "Unfair what? Marrying into the royal family is their blessing. Don't tell me you're unsatisfied with this marriage." Fan Shenxi showed no respect and turned to leave. "The inner 6 departments are busy lately. Your son will take his leave now." The emperor angrily slammed the table. Fan Shenxi walked straight out of the imperial study and ordered the guards outside to return to the Eastern Palace. Just as he approached the Eastern Palace, Qiu Xiaobei saw him and excitedly stood at a distance, waving and running over. "Why are you back so early today?" Xiaobei approached obediently. Fan Shenxi couldn't help but gently pat his head. "I have nothing to do today. Didn't you always want to go outside the palace?" Hearing this, Qiu Xiaobei's eyes instantly lit up. He became excited and quickly moved closer to Fan Shenxi, giving him a firm kiss on the cheek. Fan Shenxi's eyes widened momentarily, but he quickly recovered and asked with a gentle laugh, "When do you want to leave the palace?" Qiu Xiaobei excitedly suggested, "How about today?" Recalling his moment in the imperial study, the emperor had called out before he left, "Once the imperial advisor calculates an auspicious date, I'll have someone notify you." Hearing this, Fan Shenxi couldn't help but sigh. He wasn't given any chance to refuse, so he could only comply. "Then I'll follow Father Emperor's arrangements." Fan Shenxi looked at the person opposite him with affection. "It's rare to go outside the palace. Whatever you want to eat or play, I'll indulge you." Qiu Xiaobei immediately nodded excitedly. "Your Highness is truly the best." The two became so engrossed in conversation that neither noticed the man behind them. The white-haired man leaned against the doorframe, watching amusedly. Young Master Fan is in quite a good mood today, taking his beloved out for a stroll. Vice Minister of Justice Yin Shurong suddenly made eye contact with Xiaobei. This girl dressed as a boy, could she be his palace maid? Fan Shenxi took a sip of tea and then pointed to Qiu Xiaobei. "This is my palace eunuch, Xiaobei." Yin Shurong exclaimed in surprise, "So it's a young eunuch." Then, seeming to realize something, he quickly waved his hands. "Don't be angry, don't be angry. I'm just a bit curious." The man quietly moved closer to the young eunuch and pointed with his long fingers. "This is Yin Shurong, my childhood study companion, now the Vice Minister of Justice." Our Qiu Xiaobei was naturally observant and immediately gave a polite and respectful greeting. To Yin's surprise, he found this young eunuch quite interesting. The two noble men began speaking in riddles. Fan Shenxi asked how he had been lately. Young Master Yin said things were the same, though the Fan family seemed to have had quite a few incidents recently. Xiaobei suddenly felt uncomfortable and told the two to chat while he, as a servant, needed to step out for a moment. Fan Shenxi immediately frowned in displeasure, his deep eyes showing traces of anger. "You want to go out alone?" Do you know what you're saying? Xiaobei stammered as he walked to the man's side, nervously clasping his hands together and whispering that he needed to go make money, promising to return quickly. Seeing his direct order, he gave him the time of 1 incense stick, saying Xiaobei's legs would need to fly, but he still didn't forget to promise a quick return. He looked at the laughing man opposite him, his tone carrying confusion. Had enough of looking? But In Shurong wasn't afraid of his anger. He propped up his chin with interest. After all, this is the first time I've seen your highness like this. Do you have feelings for him? Hearing this, Fan Chenxi's demeanor suddenly turned cold, his purple eyes narrowing. Would you like to test if my temper can get any better? Cold sweat appeared on In Shurong's forehead. He quickly changed the subject. We haven't seen each other for so long. Let me toast you, and we can talk about the inner 6 departments. At this time, someone stood at the Zhang mansion's entrance, earnestly calling after the retreating figure. Xiaobei walked with his hands behind his back, completely assuming the air of a master. Xiaobei suddenly turned back to remind the elder behind him. I understand your situation clearly. I can go in by myself. You stay outside. Minister Zhang felt as if he'd received 1,000 wounds to his heart. If he really knew everything, it wouldn't matter. He's just a eunuch. They could simply kill him to eliminate future troubles. Xiaobei stood in the dark room, very calm. Do you know the fate of mortals? Do you know what hell tastes like? I'll give you a chance to speak before I act. A chilling shout suddenly came from afar. He killed me, killed our son. Don't I deserve revenge? Xiaobei didn't care about his thoughts, but you shouldn't use such methods. The eerie, ethereal voice floated around. What are you to meddle in my affairs? Xiaobei looked straight at him. Indeed, I dare not. A sudden swoosh sound broke the silence. Xiaobei held a talisman between his fingers. Let's see if he dares. Rather than killing him and going to hell, better to find evidence of his crimes and let justice execute him. He looked threateningly at the little ghost. What do you think? The ghost, with only a wisp of soul remaining, hesitated. Can you really solve this? Xiaobei affirmed without hesitation. As long as you cooperate. Outside, a servant quietly asked, will Eunuch Bei really help? Minister Zhang replied it was a transaction. After all, he had helped him enter the inner temple's prayer room last time. Their conversation hadn't ended when Xiaobei slowly walked out, his expression unchanged. It's resolved. Minister Zhang can rest assured. His small steps didn't stop as he quickly passed by the two. He waved dismissively behind him. Nothing else. This humble one will take his leave. Xiaoxi gestured knowingly. Should we deal with him too? Minister Zhang said, he's just a eunuch. Since the matter's resolved, there's no need to keep him around. Xiaobei, about to face assassination, stood lost in the middle of the road. He only remembered coming from this direction earlier. Before he could figure it out, urgent hoofbeats came from behind. The coachman behind shouted for people to make way. Xiaobei was caught off guard and knocked down. Nearby commoners whispered frantically, whose carriage is that? So arrogant? That's Wei family's coachman. Nobody dares offend the Wei family now. The crown prince and third princess Wei's engagement. Everyone knows now. The Wei family is about to rise. In a tea house, he had just reached His Highness's room when he heard voices inside. Go see what Xiaobei is doing. Why hasn't he returned? Xiaobei entered with a dark expression, ignoring His Highness's questioning. The incense stick hasn't burned out. Your servant has returned right on time. Fan Chenxi's deep eyes flashed coldly before instantly returning to normal. You look like you've been bullied. Did you encounter trouble? Xiaobei turned his head away, refusing to look at him, his tone terribly harsh. How could your highness worry about a servant's matters? He pulled away from His Highness's reaching hand, pressing his own soft hand to his chest. After all, your highness is getting married. You won't need this servant anymore. Then he remembered he was just a eunuch. What right did he have to care who his master married? Yet his heart truly ached. The crown prince raised his head non-committally, his purple eyes enchanting. Little Bei is right. I will soon marry third Lady Wei. He leaned forward with interest, his delicate features suddenly magnified before Xiaobei. Xiaobei dared not meet his gaze. How dare a servant be jealous? Fan Chenxi pulled the jealous servant close, teasing softly. It seems I need to make a grand gesture. My little servant is upset with me. The man softly comforted the woman in his arms. Though Father Emperor arranged the marriage with Wei III, trust me to resolve it. No woman will enter the Eastern Palace. Having you is enough for me. I couldn't care for anyone else. Hearing his gentle confession, Xiaobei's face turned red. Your Highness, your servant wants to return to the palace. Young Master In stood aside, bidding them farewell, his tall figure appearing somewhat lonely. Eunuch Bey, do come play here more often when you're free. He leaned close to the little eunuch's ear, smiling as he shared a secret. Next time, I'll let you try other delicious things. The Crown Prince pulled him away, giving him no chance to respond. Inshurong broke into a smile. The Crown Prince had such an adorable side. So he stood at the restaurant entrance waving continuously, his gentle and elegant voice calling out, Eunuch Bey, remember what I just told you. Qiu Xiaobei lifted the carriage curtain, smiling at the man. I'll come visit when I have the chance. He hadn't noticed His Highness's sulking. Fan Chenxi decided to take the initiative. He looked at Xiaobei inquiringly. Do you think Inshurong is handsome? Xiaobei responded seriously, his big eyes sparkling. In your servant's heart, no one is more handsome than your highness. His Highness snorted disdainfully, the tear mole at his eye corner dimming. But I saw how much you liked him. Warning bells rang in Xiaobei's mind. He made a deeply affectionate gesture. Your Highness, I am yours. How could I like anyone else? Just then, the usually steady carriage hit a stone. A violent crash sounded inside as Xiaobei was thrown to the side. The guard anxiously stopped to check, but the situation inside made him panic. Large drops of cold sweat fell. He hurriedly explained to the Crown Prince. Eunuch Bey was knocked down on the way back. This servant was too far to protect him, but we've sent people to investigate. It should be Third Princess Wei's carriage. The Crown Prince's face darkened at the news. He pondered deeply, his tone becoming very serious as he instructed his servant. Tell Imperial Physician Lin I don't want to see him at the Eastern Palace. Xiaobei pitifully fell into His Highness's embrace, his small frame trembling. Your Highness, don't be angry with your servant. I'll be fine soon. Fan Chenxi held the small woman before him tighter, his exquisite jaw close to her temple, his tone unprecedentedly gentle. I'll take you home now. After Fan Chenxi brought him back to the Eastern Palace, Imperial Physician Lin came to examine him. Eunuch Bey has no serious injury. He just needs good rest in the coming days. This official will take his leave. After Imperial Physician Lin left, Fan Chenxi covered Qiu Xiaobei with a blanket. News from the Emperor. The Empress Dowager will hold a 100 flowers banquet. Third Lady Wei is also invited. Fan Chenxi watched the sleeping Qiu Xiaobei, gesturing the head eunuch to speak softly. It's called a 100 flowers banquet, but it's actually for selecting the Crown Prince's consorts. How lonely. The head eunuch pushed Fan Chenxi out of the hall. At this banquet, besides the predetermined Crown Princess, they might select 2 side consorts for your highness. Fan Chenxi remained indifferent hearing this, not taking them seriously. Those who aren't afraid of death really want to push their daughters into my harem. Since that's the case, let more come to relieve the boredom. The Eastern Palace is indeed too quiet. Fan Chenxi instructed manager Li not to let Qiu Xiaobei know about this. Fan Chenxi brought medicine to the bedside. By then, Qiu Xiaobei was awake. He had actually known about the Empress Dowager's plan to select consorts for Fan Chenxi, but Qiu Xiaobei couldn't accept it. Just as he reached out to stroke Qiu Xiaobei's head, Xiaobei slapped his hand away, sat up, and glared at him fiercely. Fan Chenxi remained unbothered. Fan Chenxi handed him the medicine. Qiu Xiaobei took it and unceremoniously bit his arm. What consort selection? It's infuriating. After Qiu Xiaobei released his bite, looking at the deep teeth marks on his arm, how did you know it was your servant who bit you? Fan Chenxi comforted him. I think you didn't bite hard enough. Then he extended his other hand to Qiu Xiaobei, patiently and gently coaxing. Have you calmed down? Want to bite this hand too? Qiu Xiaobei slowly lowered his head, looking worried. It's your servant's fault. I offended your highness. I just fear the women arranged by the emperor might be like side consort Zhou. His expression grew more pitiful as he spoke, a voice in his heart reminding him, you're just a little eunuch, no matter how favored you are, you can't be jealous of other women. Seeing Qiu Xiaobei's silence, Fan Chenxi poked his forehead. I know you're angry. Haven't I promised I won't marry any of them? After saying this, he started playing with Qiu Xiaobei's hair. Looking at him with affectionate eyes, none of them will become my wife, because none of them are worthy. A few days later was the palace's 100 flowers banquet. Beautiful and talented ladies from various families attended. Guests were seated, and the palace hall was very lively. The 5th prince discussed with the 4th prince, father is really good to second brother. He He appointed the crown princess. At this rate, even the side consorts will be selected at the 100 Flowers banquet. Qiu Xiaobei heard all this. His face instantly darkened, looking protective. Who says my prince isn't capable? He's very capable. Fan Shenxi, unaware of his expression, waved and called Xiaoshan. The rabbit meat on my table is good. Send some to those ladies over there. Hearing this, Qiu Xiaobei finally came to his senses. Watching Xiaoshan carry the rabbit meat over, he felt very depressed. His Highness is even giving food to those ladies. The fifth prince angrily waved his fan. Those inexperienced women, getting excited over small favors. How could a useless person become emperor? Qiu Xiaobei watched the ladies gathering together, feeling very surprised. Why did they suddenly come over? What are they trying to do? They came forward to bow to the crown prince. Qiu Xiaobei quickly blocked in front of Fan Shenxi, shouting, "Ladies, what business do you have with my prince?" They gently answered Qiu Xiaobei's question. "We're here to pay respects to the crown prince." He watched them like a guard, thinking, why are they all trying to compete with me for his highness? Fan Shenxi behind Qiu Xiaobei waved his hand. The main characters of this 100 Flowers banquet are you ladies. No need to be so formal. Let's forget about these ceremonies for now. For the talent show later, I've prepared some rewards. If you ladies are interested, you can go to the pavilion to prepare. Qiu Xiaobei turned back angrily. Hearing this, the ladies discussed among themselves. The crown prince's rewards, wouldn't that be like having his token? Will surely be looked at differently. The ladies bowed to the crown prince. We'll take our leave then, your highness. Qiu Xiaobei stood aside with a dark face, his anger having nowhere to go. When all the talented ladies left the hall, Qiu Xiaobei angrily turned to stare at him. You could have scared them away with just a frown, yet you gave them a chance to get close. He thought to himself, worried Fan Shenxi might actually fancy one of the beauties and make her a side consort in the Eastern Palace. Completely unforgivable. Then he turned and stormed off angrily. Qiu Xiaobei went to the pavilion, his anger having nowhere to go, could only take it out on the flowers, cursing Fan Shenxi, letting you give them food, letting you talk to them. Just as he was about to pick another flower, Fan Shenxi's voice interrupted him. The flowers here can't be picked at will. Anyone caught doing so will be punished. At the word punishment, Qiu Xiaobei quickly ran to Fan Shenxi's side, but he only called out, "Your Highness," and couldn't form a complete sentence afterward. But he couldn't help expressing his grievances and unwillingness. Have you forgotten about Zhou Sifei? Yet you still talked so much with them. Fan Shenxi's lips curved into a mischievous smile. I wanted to talk more with them precisely to see my little eunuch get jealous. Hearing Fan Shenxi mention his jealousy of those ladies, Qiu Xiaobei's face turned red. He turned away, refusing to admit it. Your servant isn't jealous, just worried about you. Suddenly Fan Shenxi pinched his cheeks, smiling at him. You're right about everything. You're thinking of my best interests, afraid I might find. When Fan Shenxi let go, Qiu Xiaobei rubbed his cheeks. Hearing Fan Shenxi's words made him angry. If you let me choose, I would definitely choose myself. Seeing Qiu Xiaobei standing there silently, Fan Shenxi couldn't bear to tease him anymore. You're so clever, can't you really guess my plan? The emperor wants to select consorts for me, and my resistance would be futile. You really are a little fool. Hearing this, Qiu Xiaobei finally understood. The prince's actions were meant to lower their guard. Fan Shenxi naturally wouldn't let others manipulate him. After understanding Fan Shenxi's thoughts, Qiu Xiaobei smiled happily. So the prince really didn't like any of them. Just as he was about to ask the prince, Wei Qing interrupted them. They both turned their heads to look. Qiu Xiaobei was surprised to see the third princess. Why did Wei Qing have to interrupt him and the prince? Wei Qing ignored the head eunuch's obstruction and ran straight to the crown prince. Your Highness, so this is where you are. I've been looking for you for quite a while. She directly separated Fan Shenxi and Qiu Xiaobei. Fan Shenxi directly asked if she needed something. Wei Qing happily replied, the writing test at Ningchuan Pavilion is about to begin. Won't your highness come to watch? Fan Shenxi heard her invitation, but refused expressionlessly. I prefer peace and quiet. I won't go with the third princess. Hearing this, Qiu Xiaobei secretly smiled, seeing him reject Wei Qing, but she seemed unbothered and revealed her true purpose. She wanted the prince to see her calligraphy and give his opinion. Fan Shenxi appeared lazy, his mind clearly not on Wei Qing. The third princess might be disappointed. I don't understand calligraphy. Hearing this, Wei Qing clearly didn't believe it. Then she asked Fan Chenxi what he liked. Shall Qinger play the zither for you? Fan Chenxi impatiently rested his head on his hand. Third princess, that won't be necessary. Fan Chenxi's mind was now in chaos. Third princess, do you know why I'm staying here? Because there aren't extra people making noise in my ears. Hearing Fan Chenxi's words, Wei Qing laughed awkwardly. It seems your highness doesn't like Qinger. But whether you like me or not, the position of imperial consort can only be mine. At this moment, Fan Chenxi didn't want to hear her rambling anymore and ordered Qiu Xiaobei to push her away. Seeing the crown prince about to leave, Wei Qing desperately shouted, "Crown prince, your highness and Qinger's marriage is already decided. Qinger is willing to serve your highness, and the Wei family is willing to support your highness. You should understand Qinger's meaning." Hearing this, Fan Chenxi immediately stopped and questioned her with a dark face. "If I marry you, I must rely on you. Otherwise your family will become my enemy? Duke Wei is truly capable. I, the crown prince, must watch his youngest daughter's face? Even more impressive than Father Emperor." At these words, Wei Qing was frightened and immediately knelt down. Fan Chenxi didn't want to hear any explanation. He turned to Qiu Xiaobei and said, "This place is no longer peaceful. Let's go somewhere else." Now Qiu Xiaobei just wanted to return. Qiu Xiaobei pushed Fan Chenxi along, occasionally turning back to look at Wei Qing kneeling on the ground. Isn't it nice to deal with a love rival without having to personally take action? When he turned his head back, his mood wasn't as good as before. Even so, she is still the emperor-appointed crown princess, while I'm just a little eunuch by his side. Qiu Xiaobei pushed the crown prince to the head eunuch's side. The crown prince ordered to return to the palace. Meeting Wei Qing was truly annoying. They returned to the crown prince's chambers. The head eunuch brought in a basin of water from outside, but Fan Chenxi had him place it beside Qiu Xiaobei. The head eunuch turned and put it at his feet. Then Fan Chenxi ordered the head eunuch to withdraw. Fan Chenxi rolled up his sleeves, preparing to personally wash Qiu Xiaobei's feet. Fan Chenxi came to his side without a word and reached to help him remove his shoes. "Didn't you say you were tired? Soaking your feet can relieve fatigue. You told me this yourself." He wanted to refuse, but Fan Chenxi stopped him. He was the crown prince after all. In this place, the master was like heaven. Qiu Xiaobei was moved to tears by Fan Chenxi's gesture. Seeing Qiu Xiaobei continuously crying, Fan Chenxi patiently comforted him. "I'll have the kitchen bring you some milk to drink later. What's lost must be replenished." The next morning, Qiu Xiaobei heard someone say third Princess Wei had arrived. He instantly became alert. "The third princess has come to the mansion? I must go see." Qiu Xiaobei opened the door, showing a mischievous smile. "A chance meeting in the imperial garden wasn't enough. She's actually come here. If I don't teach her a lesson today, I'm not Eunuch Bei." He walked into the courtyard, swaying left and right while observing his surroundings. A palace maid noticed his unusual behavior and asked, "Eunuch Bei, what are you looking for?" At this moment, Qiu Xiaobei noticed the broom in the palace maid's hand. With a dark face, he reached out to the maid. "Give me the broom. I want to drive that woman out." Wei Qing was still arguing with the guards. She wanted them to help announce Duke Wei's third daughter had come to see the prince, but this was inappropriate to the guards. Hearing the sound, Wei Qing turned to see Qiu Xiaobei walking towards them. With a stern face, Qiu Xiaobei said, "Men and women should be separate. You're not yet married to the crown prince. Third princess visiting the crown prince privately will harm your reputation. Please reconsider." Hearing this, Wei Qing became furious. Qiu Xiaobei argued with arms crossed, "Third princess, you may not care about your reputation, but our prince ordered that no one should disturb him." Wei Qing put her hands on her hips and gave Qiu Xiaobei a wicked smile. "Eunuch Bei, right? Let's make a bet with this princess. Let's bet whether your prince will see me or not." He looked at Wei Qing, whispering to the guard, "Could it be she's going to use Duke Wei's status to threaten the prince again? My prince isn't afraid of him at all." After hearing Wei Qing's words, the guard went to report. Wei Qing looked at Qiu Xiaobei before her, smiling maliciously. "Just wait, Eunuch Bei. The prince will definitely see me." Unexpectedly, when the guard came out, he let the third princess enter. Qiu Xiaobei stubbornly followed behind Wei Qing, but she turned and stopped his steps. Thus Qiu Xiaobei was left outside. His face instantly darkened. The guard conveyed the prince's words, "Go rest in your room. Don't get involved in the third princess's matter." Afterward, Qiu Xiaobei walked straight to his room. "Fine, I won't get involved. What's the big deal? I don't care what they do in there. Walking back with a low mood, Eunuch approached and handed him a letter. It was a letter brought by a friend for Qiu Xiaobei. He opened the letter and sighed after reading its contents. The letter was from official Zhang. Then Qiu Xiaobei left the palace as instructed in the letter. Meanwhile, Wei Qing brought snacks to the desk. Fan Shenxi interrupted before she finished speaking. Is that what you meant to say? Wei Qing cleverly thought to explain her earlier words after the prince ate her snacks. But Fan Shenxi wasn't appreciative at all. Seeing Fan Shenxi's angry expression, she slammed the table and shouted, "What do you mean? I came with good intentions to tell you that Xiaobei might be a spy. Knowing such a dangerous person is by your side, we should report to the emperor." Just as she finished speaking, Fan Shenxi grabbed her throat. Fan Shenxi couldn't stand others speaking ill of Qiu Xiaobei. His aura was now very cold. It seems the third princess doesn't want to leave this room alive. He tightly gripped Wei Qing's throat, viciously questioning, "Who told you Xiaobei was a spy?" Wei Qing could only explain she had heard it somewhere. Hearing this, Fan Shenxi laughed coldly. "You can hear about spies around me, but you haven't heard about what kind of person I am? All the rumors about me flaying people alive and drinking blood are true. Remember that." Fan Shenxi threw Wei Qing out. "Next time you won't be so lucky." Wei Qing, thrown to the ground by Fan Shenxi, coughed violently. He kept reminding Wei Qing, "If there's nothing else, third princess can leave. Take your things with you." After the third princess left the chamber, her expression was clearly visible to Eunuch nearby. Eunuch respectfully bowed. "Safe journey, third princess." After the third princess left, Eunuch came to the chamber, worriedly reminding the crown prince, "Treating Duke Wei's daughter this way, aren't you afraid of what he might do?" Hearing this, Fan Shenxi snorted, "Everyone knows my reputation. If he dares send his daughter here, he should have considered these consequences." Then Fan Shenxi turned to look at the head eunuch, his expression softening slightly, and asked about Xiaobei. "How is he? Is he still angry?" Hearing the head eunuch's answer, Fan Shenxi angrily slammed the table. "Didn't I tell you to watch him?" The eunuch replied that Xiaobei probably just went out for a walk. Fan Shenxi sighed, holding his heavy head. He told Ngue to follow him, not to stop whatever he wanted to do, but to report any situation immediately. He's a sensible person. No matter how angry he gets, he wouldn't sneak out of the palace. There must be something going on. At this moment, the head eunuch wanted to remind him that Xiaobei might really be a spy. Qiu Xiaobei arrived at the meeting place arranged by official Zhang. He got straight to the point, asking, "Why did you call me here today?" Official Zhang smiled awkwardly. Zhang Chengli waved his hand. "Nothing escapes your notice, Lord Bei. This is my friend's courtyard. They say the room in front is haunted." Xiaobei looked at the room but didn't sense any evil spirits. Thinking it would be easy to resolve, he accepted the reward Zhang Chengli had prepared. So Qiu Xiaobei entered the room while Zhang Chengli stood outside, calculating his scheme. "Lord Bei, I'll wait outside for your good news." Suddenly, Zhang Chengli closed and locked the door from outside. Hearing the lock, Qiu Xiaobei rushed to bang on the door. The person outside shouted, "I have another gift for you. Just accept it." At that moment, a man approached from behind Xiaobei and knocked him unconscious with one strike. Unexpectedly, there were many people lying in wait for Qiu Xiaobei in the room. With his last bit of strength, Qiu Xiaobei grabbed the pendant Fan Shenxi had given him. When Qiu Xiaobei woke up, he found himself in a pitch-black prison cell. He rubbed his painful neck, feeling afraid in this unfamiliar environment. Qiu Xiaobei saw an old man outside. Like seeing a lifeline, he ran forward shouting, "Old man," wanting to ask where this place was. The old man turned to look at the voice, but saw an unfamiliar face. This face made the old man think he was seeing a ghost. Qiu Xiaobei was confused by the old man's hasty retreat. He stood in the cell, watching the old man's departing figure. "What is this place? How did I get here? What happened before I passed out?" Someone in the neighboring cell told him this was the Ministry of Justice's secret prison. Hearing secret prison, Qiu Xiaobei was shocked. His face had been disguised to look unfamiliar. The man lowered his head slightly, warning Xiaobei that once you enter here, you'll never leave. But Xiaobei refused to accept this. Meanwhile, Fan Shenxi received news of Xiaobei's disappearance. He angrily smashed his teacup on the ground, furious that Xiaobei had vanished after leaving the palace. Fan Shenxi's face was dark, and the air around him grew cold. Such skill indeed. Remember what you said when entering the palace? First-rate talent. The man kneeling on the ground quickly begged for mercy. Fan Shenxi ignored him and ordered the guards to take him away for beating. Just keep him barely alive. Fan Shenxi rested his head on his hand, deeply worried about Xiaobei's safety. He'll be fine. He's so clever. He must be fine. He immediately ordered everyone to search. The next morning, Qiu Xiaobei was taken from the secret prison by Yamen runners. He struggled. Let me go. You've got the wrong person. Their strength difference made it impossible for him to escape. Oldswa said, we're all brought here to be disguised as criminals, to take the blame for others. Don't they know who I am? Qiu Xiaobei was brought before the court. The person kneeling before the justice minister was called Tong Shupei, accused of murdering the Qin family's daughter and dumping her body in the river. Do you plead guilty? Hearing the unfamiliar name Tong Shupei, he shouted angrily in court, I'm not Tong Shupei. I'm from the palace. I'm the crown prince's eunuch. Hearing this, the justice minister slammed the table. How dare you, Tong Shupei? With witnesses and evidence present, you still try to deny it. Bring him here to sign and seal the confession. Qiu Xiaobei was forced to sign, admitting to Tong Shupei's crimes. The justice minister immediately announced, Tong Shupei, for the cruel murder of an innocent, you are sentenced to immediate execution. The Yamen runners covered his mouth as he struggled desperately. They darkly whispered in his ear, you are now Tong Shupei. You signed the confession yourself. At this moment, he saw In Shurong, the crown prince's good friend, before him. Qiu Xiaobei, seeing him as a lifeline, struggled desperately in the Yamen runner's grip. As he passed by In Shurong suddenly paused his steps. However, he couldn't recognize Qiu Xiaobei because of the disguise. In Shurong remained standing there, watching as the person slowly walked away. He didn't know who it was, but he had a very familiar feeling about them.